Chapter 29:16. After heading to the nearest city, Zichen found an inn and everyone stayed there. After that, they began to refine the heavenly beast crystals and began to walk another path to level 9. A year passed quickly. During this year, they never left the inn and rarely communicated with each other. They just kept refining the heavenly beast crystals and their strength increased by a lot. After a year, Zichen and the others left the city. They didn't go any further. The reason for leaving was that there were too many of them and the cost of staying in the inn was extremely high. After leaving the city, Zichen landed in a hall on a remote mountain peak. Everyone cultivated in the hall while he sat cross-legged on the mountain peak. His spiritual senses covered the surroundings. While refining the heavenly beast crystals, he also stood guard for everyone. Kang Mo displayed his innate divine ability. He was refining armor in Zichen's world, but he didn't have a finished product yet. This was a very difficult and time-consuming task. Compared to a year ago, Zichen had improved a lot, especially in terms of his physical body. This didn't mean that his physical body had increased by many levels, but after refining the heavenly beast crystals, his physical body gradually became familiar with the rules of this world and was recognized by the rules, making his physical body stronger. All of this was due to Zichen's strong physical foundation. After all, it was known as the perfect physical body. In addition to Zichen, the devil ape, Longhu, and the Torvosaurus also improved a lot because they had strong physical bodies. Among the group, Su Mengyaro and the other girls didn't have an advantage. Their combat strength wasn't weak, but they didn't have much of an advantage in terms of physical strength. Therefore, after more than a year of refining, their physical body didn't improve that much. This included Monk. He had many wonderful divine abilities, but his physical body was his weakness. Although he had a strong defense and didn't need to be afraid, his attack was his weakness. It could be said that in the divine realm, level 9 divine generals had comprehended divine abilities to the limit and could evolve all kinds of powerful attacks. However, after coming to this world, their physical body became their main goal. In this way, these divine generals had no weaknesses. After a year in this world, Zichen believed that if most of the divine generals here could return, they would definitely be ranked on the general list. Zichen clenched his fists and felt his body brimming with power. With a flash of light, he punched the ground. With a loud bang, a few cracks appeared on the rock. When they first came to this world, Tyrant tried to use the demon-subduing pestle to attack the mountain rocks. In the end, sparks kept bursting out. The sturdy rocks gave them a great shock. After more than a year of refining, Zichen could now easily shatter rocks. This was growth. Zichen looked at the heavenly beast crystal in his hand and sighed, but the consumption is also very high. Over the past year or so, everyone's consumption added up to a very large number. If it were any other divine generals, they would need at least 100 years to accumulate so many heavenly beast crystal stones, or even 1,000 years. Now, Zichen understood why those people wanted to join forces. The more people there were, the faster they would grow. His physical body hadn't reached a bottleneck yet, and was still growing at a steady rate. The heavenly python pellet he obtained last time had always been on him, and he had yet to refine it. According to Kang Mo, this was something that could upgrade the physical body's grade, and it was to be used at a critical moment. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, another year had passed. Zichen was no longer limited to the mountain peak. His spiritual senses spread out, and he would occasionally leave the mountain peak to hunt some heavenly beasts. Everything was as Martin had said, those who had heavenly beast pellets mostly lived in the depths. Zichen would occasionally go out and hunt some heavenly beasts, but he had never seen a tier 5 heavenly beast. Zichen sat cross-legged on the mountain peak, silently refining the heavenly beast crystal stones. An azure sky-winged eagle was circling in the air, letting out an ear-piercing screech that carried a soul attack. It swooped down from time to time, bringing gusts of wind. This kind of heavenly beast not only hunted other heavenly beasts for food, but also divine generals sometimes. Zichen looked up at the sky, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. His figure rose with the wind like a willow catkin, sometimes left and sometimes right, leaving behind a series of afterimages. The azure sky-winged eagle's eyes shone with a cold light as it swooped down towards Zi Chen. The wind whistled, and a storm appeared around the azure sky-winged eagle. Its sharp claws were like the sharpest weapon in the world, flashing with a cold light. Zi Chen's figure lightly reached the edge of the storm, and he was swept in by the storm, arriving in front of the azure sky-winged eagle. The azure sky-winged eagle's sharp claws tore through the air, flashing with a metallic luster, leaving a few scratches. In that instant, a powerful force shook, and a blinding golden light burst out from the storm. The golden light was from Zi Chen's finger. Kai. The golden light flashed, and Zi Chen's figure appeared. The storm around him dissipated, and the distorted space returned to normal. Zi Chen stood in front of the azure sky-winged eagle, just an arm's length away from its head. There was a bloody hole on its head, and blood was flowing out from it. The azure sky-winged eagle's aura instantly withered, and its iron wings folded as it fell towards the ground. Swoosh! A golden light shot out from Zi Chen's body, wrapped around the azure sky-winged eagle, and brought it back, disappearing from Zi Chen's side. Peng! In Zi Chen's world, a black shadow landed on the ground, and smoke and dust rose in all directions. It was the azure sky-winged eagle that had just been killed. And in the surroundings, there were many corpses. They were all heavenly beast bones that could be used to refine armor and weapons. They were piled up like mountains. Zi Chen landed on the mountain peak again. 2 years ago, he still needed the heavenly needle to kill the azure sky-winged eagle, focusing on its vital points. However, 2 years later, he could break through its most solid defense with a single finger. After killing the azure sky-winged eagle, Zi Chen continued to refine the heavenly beast crystals. After 3 years, Zi Chen sensed his bottleneck. When he used the heavenly beast crystals again, his strength was restricted. According to the grade, his current strength was equivalent to a 4th grade. This was the level of a perfect body in this world. Next, Zi Chen took out the 5th grade heavenly python pill and began to refine it. He did not ask the others if they wanted it, and just refined it directly. The team needed an existence with a 5th grade physical body, and he happened to be suitable. Heavenly beast crystals and heavenly python pills were both sources of power for heavenly beasts, but the two were clearly different. The energy contained in the heavenly python pill was purer, more turbulent, and more powerful. The refining speed was also very slow. However, during the refinement process, Zi Chen's physical strength increased at an extremely fast rate. The previous bottleneck was broken this time. His physical body had reached 5th grade. At this realm, he could easily shatter armor and break through the defense of middle-grade battle armor. After refining a heavenly python pill, Zi Chen felt that his physical body had undergone a qualitative change. It was completely different from when he first came here. Just as Zi Chen was feeling his strength, his expression was slightly startled, and he took out a round ball. Chapter 29:17. Zi Chen had the hyacinth communication bead. According to Kang Mo, it was a kind of 5th grade heavenly beast pill, which was of the same grade as the heavenly python pill that Zi Chen had obtained before. However, its main function was not to refine, but to communicate with each other after refining. The higher the grade, the further the distance of communication. It was also the only communication object in this place. Zi Chen was very surprised after learning about the function of this round bead. Obviously, this kind of thing was also very precious. Little brother Zi Chen, it's me, Martin. Martin's voice came from the hyacinth communication bead. Big brother Martin, what's the matter? Zi Chen transmitted his voice to the communication bead. We found another 5-headed heavenly python. Little brother, are you interested in forming a team with us? Or is it injured? It should be. Martin said, little brother, don't worry. After forming a team, the distribution will be based on contribution. Where are you? Zi Chen asked. He had already reached 5th grade. It was necessary for him to test his combat strength. However, he had not found a suitable opponent. This place is too remote. Where are you? I'll go find you. I'm in Marlborough City. After the transmission with Martin ended, Zi Chen transmitted his voice to ask everyone to come out. What happened? Monk walked out of the hall and asked Zi Chen. The others also looked at Chen. Chen told everyone that he was going to kill the five-headed heavenly python with Martin. "We'll go back to the city first. You guys wait for me there." No one had any objections. After seeing the power of the five-headed heavenly python last time, they had a deeper understanding of this world. However, what surprised them was that Chen had reached 5th grade so quickly. The group entered the city and found a new inn. The others continued to cultivate. Chen waited for Martin's arrival in the inn. One day later, Martin came to Marlborough City and met Chen in the inn. "Only the two of us?" Seeing that Martin was alone, Chen asked doubtfully. Martin smiled and said, "There are a few others." They went over first. Martin came specifically to find Chen. This time, the mercenaries of God had something to do outside. "Lunky and I were the only ones here. We were worried that it would be dangerous, so we invited 3 more people. Including you, there are 4 of us." After leaving the city, the 2 of them flew east. "Aren't they mercenaries?" Chen asked. "Not yet. If they are willing, they can join us," Martin said. Chen asked, "Do I need to take a test to join you?" Martin shook his head and said, "There's no need for a test. As long as we reach the required level, we'll be fine. However, we're just a vassal team. If we want to join the official army, we'll have to undergo some tests." "Is the mercenaries of God so big that they are divided into official and vassal?" Chen looked a little confused. "The mercenaries of God is the largest mercenary group in this area. What do you think? In addition, we have the support of the Hughes clan, the largest weaponsmithing clan. We have the best equipment in the entire region." Speaking of the God's mercenaries, Martin couldn't help but reveal a proud expression. In addition to the official corps and vassal teams, there are 5 levels in the official corps, from the 5th class to the 9th class. These 5 levels are divided according to the realm of the physical body. Martin smiled and said, "Usually, when you join the 5th class official corps, there will be some tests. The tests aren't too difficult. You can pass them easily." Chen nodded and didn't say anything else. 2 days later, the 2 of them arrived at their destination. Chen saw Lunky, who was followed by 3 people. The 3 of them looked very young. Youth here meant that they were full of vitality and combat strength. The arrival of Chen and Martin attracted the attention of the 3 people. At this time, Chen was also sizing up the 3 people. They were all wearing mid-grade armor. Since they were invited here by Martin, their combat strength was obviously not ordinary. "Martin, is this the person you are looking for?" a young man among the 3 asked. "His name is Chen." The 2 of them landed. Martin smiled and said, "Thoughtless, Chen's combat strength is extremely strong." The young man named Thoughtless snorted and said, "It has nothing to do with me whether he is strong or not. He delayed us for several days. Who will bear the loss?" Martin looked at Lunky. Lunky said, "Yesterday, we found other people here. They seemed to be here for the 5-headed sky python." Martin asked, "Where are they now?" Lunky said, "They have left. I don't know if they found the 5-headed sky python." Martin said, "If we go there now, even if they find the 5-headed sky python, they may not have the combat strength to kill it. In this place, 5th-class soldiers can't come and go as they please. Chen, right? I am Roy." At this time, another young immortal general spoke. He looked at Chen with a kind smile on his face. Chen smiled and nodded to immortal General Roy. Martin said, "Thoughtless, Roy, N.A. man, you already know Lunky. This time, the 6 of us will form a team. Chen, my friend." Martin introduced him to the others. "Nice to meet you," N.A. man said politely. Thoughtless snorted coldly. "Chen, don't mind her. Thoughtless was just worried that the 5-headed sky python would be robbed. After all, it is rare to find a 5-headed sky python in this place," Lunky said with a smile. Chen nodded and said, "We are indeed late this time." Then the 6 of them moved forward and went straight to the 5-headed sky python. The 5-headed sky python was hidden among the mountains. After flying over more than 10 mountains, they saw a sea of fire. In the sea of fire, a 5-headed sky python was partly hidden and partly visible. Seeing that the five-headed heavenly python was unscathed, everyone heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Everyone's face was filled with joy. Thoughtless' face turned from cloudy to as gentle as a spring breeze. The group landed on the top of the mountain. Martin glanced at the three people beside him and said, "Okay, let's do it. I'll go first." Thoughtless' figure flashed, and the middle-grade armor on his body shone. He rushed directly to the five-headed sky python in the fire. Roy and N.A. Man followed him, but they didn't get too close. They stopped halfway and didn't attack. Boom! In the endless sea of fire, there was a violent sound. Thoughtless flew out of the sea of fire. The middle-grade armor on his body kept flashing, but it didn't break. The five-headed sky python hissed and raised its head. Bastard! Thoughtless' eyes flashed coldly, and he rushed forward again. There was a buzzing sound in the void. Large amounts of sword rain shot out, breaking through the air. In the sea of fire, the energy surged again. Thoughtless flew backward again. This time, the armor on his body was broken, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. Seeing this, Martin frowned. Roy and N.A. Man rushed forward at this time. Weapons appeared in their hands, and they attacked the five-headed sky python. In the clanging sound, the scales on the five-headed sky python were broken, and blood flowed out of the wounds. Their combat strength was impressive, but it was difficult to kill the five-headed sky python, or rather, they couldn't finish the battle quickly. Chapter 29:18. Zi Chen, Martin, and Lunky flew forward. As they moved forward, a saber appeared in Zi Chen's hand. He injected the yin and yang energy into the scabbard as he started to accumulate power. The sea of fire separated in front of him. He passed through the sea of fire and disappeared into thin air as the meteorites in the sky smashed down. A few illusory shadows appeared in the sky as he arrived above the five-headed sky serpents. He unsheathed his long saber after accumulating power. A bright light flashed across the sky as the saber radiance shot out along the tip of the saber, drawing a perfect saber arc and landing on the huge body of the five-headed sky serpents. Puff! The saber radiance flashed past and shattered the scales. The sky serpents started to bleed profusely. Zi Chen backed off after the saber slashed down, leaving a blurred shadow where he was standing. The space was distorted as the serpent's tail swept across the place where he had been standing. It was so powerful that an ear-piercing sound was heard in the air, shattering countless shadows. When Lunky and Martin saw this scene, they were shocked. The last time they saw Zi Chen, he had to use other means to break the sky serpent's defense. However, 3 years had passed, and he could break the sky serpent's defense with a single saber strike. It was evident that he had become more powerful in the past 3 years. The whistling sound continued in the sky as huge rocks smashed down like houses. The flames in the surroundings burned even more fiercely, making the air crackle. Boom! Boom! The sky serpent showed its power. Its tail swept across and knocked everyone away. The defense on Lunky and Martin's body was broken one after another. Among the group, Zi Chen was the only one who didn't wear armor, so he was more careful. He moved at an extremely fast speed, flashing and disappearing like a ghost. The others kept attacking, but they didn't have the power to kill the sky serpent directly. According to Zi Chen's observation, this sky serpent was more powerful than the one he had encountered last time. The sky serpent hissed and the sound waves spread out, attacking everyone's souls. Golden light shone in the sky as countless golden long swords flew down and formed a sword serpent in the air, shooting toward the 5 people. Open! Thoughtless looked indifferent. She stepped forward, and divine light gushed out from her body. She slashed down with her blade. Divine light lingered on the blade, and a powerful aura surged, hitting the sword python head-on. The sword python trembled and then exploded, turning into countless swords that shot in all directions. Thoughtless thoughts rushed through the sea of fire and came to the side of the sky serpent. She swiftly chopped down with her blade. Pu! Blood splashed out again, and the 5-headed heavenly python's scales were shattered a little more. Another bloody wound appeared on its body, and blood spurted out. At this moment, the heavenly python looked extremely miserable. There were dozens of wounds of different sizes on its body, and blood was flowing out. However, these wounds were not fatal. Instead, They angered it. Pa. Thoughtless Sai's body was knocked away by the serpent's tail again. This time, the heavenly serpent rushed towards her after she was knocked away. One of its mouths was open, about to swallow him. A black hole appeared in the mouth of the heavenly boa, and a strange power emerged from it. Some mysterious rules fell on Thoughtless Sai. Thoughtless Thoughts found that he couldn't move his body. Her face immediately showed a horrified expression. Not good, it's a divine ability. Seeing this, Martin's expression changed. The aura on his body instantly burst out, becoming turbulent and surging. However, he was some distance away from Thoughtless Thoughts, and the heavenly python had used its divine ability, which directly caused the space to be disordered. His speed was affected. Lunky also noticed Martin's situation. His expression became gloomy, and he knew that things were not going well. Na Man and Luo Yi wanted to help, but it was too late. Beside the heavenly python, the space was violently distorted, forming storms one after another. They moved forward against the storms. When they got close, Thoughtless Thoughts had been swallowed up. Similar to the situation in the divinity, the heavenly pythons here also knew divine abilities. Their divine abilities were even more horrifying. It was said that the divine abilities came from the bloodline of the outer world. However, it was rare for a 5th-grade heavenly python to display divine abilities. No one expected that the one in front of them could do it. Thoughtless Sai's body couldn't move. She was terrified. As the black hole approached, the shadow of death shrouded her body and mind. Thoughtless Sai felt desperate. They couldn't rescue her in time. Just as the others were annoyed, they suddenly saw a beam of light pass through the distorted space. It evaded those horrifying attacks in an irregular line. Like a sailboat in the raging waves, it went against the current and came before the heavenly python. Boom! The heavenly python that was about to swallow Thoughtless Sai was punched in the head by Zi Chen. Golden light burst out, illuminating the surroundings. The 5-headed heavenly python's head trembled. The boundless black light dispersed from its mouth. The surrounding storms dissipated, and its body flew backward. Zi Chen looked at the heavenly python that was flying backward and said in a low voice, "Let's end this quickly. Someone is coming." Martin had said that they should end the battle quickly. However, during the battle, Zi Chen found that everyone was holding back, including himself. When Thoughtless Sai was in danger, everyone more or less showed some of their true strength. The aura was very powerful. If they worked together, they could definitely kill the 5th-grade heavenly python. At this time, everyone was in shock. When they heard what Zi Chen said, their expressions changed. They released their divine thoughts, but they didn't feel anything unusual. They didn't even notice that someone was coming. Luo Yi's aura rose to the peak. The divine sword in his hand burst out a dazzling divine light. He slashed down with his sword. Blood splashed, and a python head flew out. After this slash, his face turned pale. Obviously, this slash consumed a lot of energy and cost him something. Na Man didn't want to be outdone. He slashed diagonally along the original wound, and the second python head flew out. Bang! The python tail swept across and hit his chest. The armor on his body caved in immediately. He flew backward and coughed up blood. Martin and Lunky spread their divine thoughts in all directions. They didn't notice anyone approaching. However, they trusted Zi Chen very much. At this moment, they both attacked. 2 more python heads flew out. Compared to Luo Yi and Na Man, the 2 looked normal. There was only 1 python head left. Zi Chen rushed forward. The yin-yang light circled around his body. He was ready to draw out his saber. Get lost. At this moment, an angry roar came from behind. It was Thoughtless Sai flying forward in the form of a divine light. He attacked from behind with the momentum of being one with the saber. If Zi Chen hadn't dodged, he would have been affected or hit. A light flashed on his body. He floated away from where he was. Thoughtless Thoughts flew in front of him, and a strong gust of wind with a murderous intent blew his robe, making it flutter in the wind. Poof! Blood splattered. The last head of the sky python was cut off. Its body fell to the ground. When the others saw this scene, their expressions changed slightly. Apparently, thoughtless Sai had taken advantage of Zichen's attack. Luo Yi and Na Man looked at Martin at the same time. They saw that Martin's face had turned gloomy and ugly. Lunky's face didn't look good either. Sorry, it seems that I took the initiative. But this beast is too infuriating. I can't hold it in anymore. As if sensing the atmosphere, thoughtless Sai looked back at Zichen and smiled faintly. Good speed. It seems that we're too late. Chapter 29:19. There were more than 10 of them, and all of them were wearing mid-grade armor. Zichen was not surprised. God generals who dared to attack a level 5 heavenly beast did not even have mid-grade armor, then there was no need for them to come. What caught Zichen's attention was the same pattern on their armor. It was on the left side of their chest, and it looked like a red scorpion. Blood scorpion core. Luo Mu, it's you. Martin looked at the newcomers. His face was already ugly because Thoughtless had attacked first, and now it was even uglier. Lunky flew over. He did not pick up the 5-headed heavenly python's corpse, but stood beside Martin. Although his expression was cold, his eyes were more dignified. The blood scorpion core was second only to the mercenaries of God. Oh, it's Martin. Why? Are you testing the newcomers again? Is the mercenaries of God in need of new recruits because of the great loss last time? The middle-aged man smiled faintly, his expression was indescribably sarcastic. This has nothing to do with you. Martin said coldly, how dare you attack the mercenaries of God? Luo Mu, are you ready for war? The middle-aged man named Luo Mu said, war? That's not up to you or me to decide. Now, let's talk about the 5-headed heavenly python. We found it first, but you robbed it. What do you say? Nonsense. We were the ones who discovered it first. Na Man said unhappily. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like that? Luo Mu glanced at Na Man with disdain in his eyes. You. Na Man's face showed anger. How dare you find trouble with the mercenaries of God? You're courting death. Luo Mu smiled faintly. Who's the one courting death? Why don't we try? As soon as Luo Mu finished speaking, more than a dozen God generals flew over and surrounded them. In the previous battle, they had expended a lot of energy and were more or less injured. Naturally, they were no match for these people. Luo Mu, what do you want? Martin looked at Luo Mu and said in a deep voice. Luo Mu said, I should be the one asking you this, right? You snatched my things, and now you're full of hostility towards me. This doesn't seem right. Martin coldly said, I don't want to play riddles with you. Luo Mu laughed and said, all right then, return the item to us and apologize. Take out a few hundred heavenly beast crystals as compensation. Luo Mu, you've gone too far. If Lord Donder knows about this, you should know the consequences. Martin's face darkened. Speaking of Lord Donder, Lomu's expression changed and he said, as long as I kill all of you, won't this matter be resolved? I think no matter how powerful Lord Donder is, he won't find us without any evidence. Everyone's expression changed, and their expressions were full of vigilance. Looking at the number of people, Martin's side did not have a high chance of winning. Thoughtless Sai, who had been silent all this time, said coldly, I'd rather die than be humiliated. Don't even think about apologizing. Luo Mu glanced at Foss and praised, not bad. You have foresight. I can choose not to humiliate you, but we have to take back what belongs to us. Martin, you should know the style of the blood scorpion core. If there is blood, we will fight to the death. Martin and Lunky looked at each other. They both knew Luo Mu and knew that he was very powerful. Even if they were not afraid of him, there were other members of the blood scorpion core here. Once a battle broke out, even if they could kill their way out, some of them would die. Considering the overall situation, they obviously could not start a fight. Martin looked at Foss, Roy, and Na Man with a questioning look. Na Man's expression was very serious, but he did not say anything immediately. Roy smiled and said, if you want to fight, then let's fight. If I'm afraid of death, I will stay in the God realm and enjoy my life. Why would I risk my life here? Foss immediately said, that's right. If we were afraid of death, we wouldn't have come. It's just unnecessary sacrifice. It's not bravery, it's recklessness. Martin looked at Zichen. Zichen said, if you want to fight, I don't mind. Shut up. Foss shouted at Zichen with dissatisfaction. If you hadn't delayed us for a few days, we would have killed the sky python and left. Would we be in trouble now? Zichen said indifferently, if it weren't for me, you would have died just now. That's because you came too late. Don't think that I will be grateful to you. If the battle broke out early, it wouldn't have time to use its magic. Foss said coldly. A cold light flashed in Zichen's eyes. Forget it. Let's go. Martin suddenly said. Roy shrugged his shoulders regretfully and said nothing. Na Man exhaled softly. Foss stared at Zichen with extremely cold eyes, as if everything was his fault. Let's go. Lunky said. Zichen naturally had no objection to them leaving. This was a conflict between two core, and he could not intervene. Thanks. Luomu looked at Martin and smiled. Then the others stepped forward and took away the five-headed sky python's body. Zichen followed the team and left. Those from the Blood Scorpion Corps did not follow them. They seemed to be quite trustworthy. After flying for hundreds of miles, Martin motioned for them to stop. Didn't you say that the mercenaries of God were very secretive? How did we get discovered this time? Was it a coincidence? Foss said aloud after they stopped. Lunky said, didn't someone come 2 days ago? Maybe they found out. Thoughtless Thoughts said, that's right, but they didn't find the 5 heavenly pythons. What's more, it was too coincidental this time. We had just killed the 5 heavenly pythons and consumed a lot of our energy. Lunky looked at Foss and asked in confusion, what do you mean? There must be a traitor among us. Foss said with certainty, otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? Moreover, we all consumed a lot of energy. But someone didn't, and he didn't even consume any energy. As soon as she said this, everyone looked at Zichen. Obviously, she was targeting Zichen. Zichen glanced at Thoughtless Sigh. He didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled, but his smile was meaningful. What's with your expression? Foss stared coldly at Zichen. Do you have a guilty conscience? Go on. Zichen said, besides this, is there any other evidence to prove that I'm the traitor? Foss said, no need to prove it. You've admitted it. You're the traitor. Humph, how dare you collude with the Blood Scorpion Corps? You really don't know what's good for you. Lunky frowned when he heard this. Roy smiled and did not say anything. Na Man looked puzzled. Finally, everyone looked at Martin. He was the decision maker of the team. Martin said, you can go. Foss laughed and said, even Boss Martin can see it. You. Chapter 29:20. The smile on Thoughtless' face froze. He stared at Martin blankly and said, what? Martin said coldly, you're eliminated. Why me and not him? Thoughtless pointed at Zichen and said loudly, I helped you, and I advised you not to do it. Otherwise, we would suffer a great loss. What about him? Did he do nothing? Why didn't you eliminate him? Martin said coldly, I called Zichen here. He didn't come here to take the test. Thoughtless was stunned and couldn't say a word. Roy and Na Man looked at Zichen curiously. It was interesting that he didn't come here to take the test. What test? Zichen asked in confusion. Martin smiled and said, I'll tell you later. Thoughtless, you can go now. Martin's attitude toward Thoughtless was much colder. You're eliminated. Thoughtless' expression kept changing. Then he said angrily, what a damn test. It's not fair at all. If the mercenaries of God were all like you, I wouldn't go even if you asked me. Bah. I was so blind to want to join the mercenaries of God. Martin didn't get angry at Thoughtless' bad attitude. He continued, you've lost the qualification to join the mercenaries of God forever. You have no chance to take the test. Well, you win. Thoughtless' expression became colder. He reached out his hand to Martin and said, give it to me. What? Martin was stunned. 1/5 of the Sky Python's materials. You were the one who gave it away, but I was the one who put in the effort. Now, I want to take back my part. Thoughtless said coldly, since the test doesn't exist anymore, we're in an employer-employee relationship. I'm taking back what I deserve, right? Martin sneered, that's right, but there are 6 of us. He's just a piece of trash who didn't do anything. Thoughtless said coldly, you approve of him, but I don't. I killed the 5-headed sky python last. It's generous of me to only take 1/5 of it. Martin glanced at Lun Ku, who took out 1/5 of the sky python's materials and 1/5 of the sky python's inner core. Thank you for your generosity. Don't let me see you again, or I'll kill you. Take your things and scram. A cold light flashed in Martin's eyes. Mph, this lousy place, even if you invite me next time, I won't come. Thoughtless Sai snorted and left decisively with the stuff. Before leaving, he glanced at Roy and Naman. You still want to enter such a lousy army? I really don't know what you're thinking. Roy smiled at Firth. Na Man didn't say anything. Martin, who had an ugly expression on his face, turned to look at Zi Chen and said apologetically, Little brother Zi Chen, I'm sorry for making you suffer. Zi Chen smiled and asked, what's the test about? Martin said, the 3 of them are going to join the mercenaries of God. Before that, they need to undergo a small test. Killing the 5-headed sky serpent is one of the tests. Zi Chen said, since you can decide for them to join the army, they must be of high status. It shouldn't be an affiliated army, right? Martin said, we don't have the ability to decide if they want to join the army. We're only responsible for testing if they're qualified. As for whether they can join the official army, there's still a small test. Besides, we're not in an unofficial army, so our status isn't that high. Zi Chen said, that's troublesome enough. Martin shrugged and said helplessly, there's no other way. The official army is like this. It's better to have nothing than to have something substandard. If we recruit people like Thoughtless Sai, it'll hurt everyone. Now that the 5-headed sky serpent has been killed, are we going to disperse? Zi Chen asked. How is that possible? That's just an appetizer. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked you to come. Martin smiled and said, there are still 5-headed sky serpent. Let's go now. There are more. Zi Chen's eyes lit up. Martin nodded and said, if there are 2 of them together, it'll be difficult for us to deal with them. After discussing it with Lunky, we decided to ask you to come and help. Didn't you say that there are very few 5-headed sky serpents in this area? Zi Chen asked, puzzled. There's been a series of battles in the depths. Many 5-headed sky serpents were affected and ran outside. Hearing what Martin said, Zi Chen was very surprised. Even a 5th-grade 5-headed sky serpent was affected and escaped. What kind of battle was it? He suddenly remembered what Luo Mu said before. He said that the mercenaries of God had suffered a great loss. Was there a connection between the 2? Zi Chen didn't ask. Martin didn't elaborate either. The 5 of them headed to the place Martin mentioned. It was very far away. As they moved forward, they were also paying attention to their backs, in case someone else came after them again. Zi Chen was also on guard. He didn't notice anything unusual. Martin took out a map and followed the directions on it. They walked for a few days. Our legion has people in charge of investigating the 5-headed sky serpents. They are all existences with special senses, but their combat power is very weak. They are only responsible for finding information. As they moved forward, Martin said, just like last time, but when we got the information and rushed over, we were 1 step too late. How do we usually distribute the resources? Hearing what Martin said, Zi Chen obviously knew that this was not a matter of one person. It involved a lot of people. In the periphery, we get 20% of the information, the Legion gets 10%, and the remaining 70% is divided among everyone. If the Legion goes into the depths, there's almost no need for information. The Legion gets 20%, and the remaining 80% is divided among everyone. This distribution method was reasonable. Although information was very important, in the end, it was still everyone who risked their lives. As for what was given to Thoughtless Sai earlier, it obviously didn't count. Under those circumstances, it was already very rare that Martin didn't kill Thoughtless Sai directly. It took them a full 7 days to reach the place Martin mentioned. The two sky serpents were in an even more remote place. It was hard to imagine how the others found them. Moreover, there was nothing unusual here. There was no fire, no rain, and the two sky serpents seemed to be sleeping. Martin looked ahead and said, "Lunky and I will hold one of them. The three of you go deal with the other one." The three of them naturally had no objection. Martin and Lunky flew forward. Chen and the other two flew to the other one. There was a surge of energy. The sky serpents were awakened. A great battle soon broke out. Chen flew forward. The light of yin and yang flashed on his body, releasing a powerful energy. To avoid unnecessary trouble, let's end this quickly. He unsheathed his long saber. The light of yin and yang flashed. Blood splashed. He beheaded one of the sky serpents. Such a clean attack made Na Man's expression change. Next to him, Roy smiled. He used the Fleetfoot step and went to the other side. Puff. Blood flashed again. Another sky serpent was beheaded. Na Man gritted his teeth. Not to be outdone, he beheaded the third sky serpent. Chapter 29-21. This was a deep valley with two sky pythons in it. Flames and meteorites roared in the valley. The surrounding space was distorted as various powerful attacks appeared. Chen and the other two had successfully killed 3 sky pythons. Their attacks were powerful. Martin and Lunky, who were fighting the other sky python in the distance, were very satisfied. Obviously, the 3 of them were not weak. However, they had to pay a price for it. After the attack, Na Man retreated. His face was extremely pale as if he had used up all his strength in the previous attack. Luo Yi's situation was slightly better, but her speed was affected. In comparison, Chen did not seem to have used up any energy. His expression was still cold. Bang! The sky python was in pain. Its tail swept across as fast as lightning. Chen's speed was even faster. He left behind an afterimage and flashed above the sky python. He raised his hand and slashed down. Puff! The 4th sky python was killed. Na Man, who was retreating, was shocked when he saw this scene. He did not expect Chen's combat power to be so strong. He had already killed 2 sky pythons so easily. He had used up a lot of energy after that attack. If he did not retreat, he would be seriously injured. Does he have a 6th grade body? Na Man thought in shock. Then, he heard a hiss. The last sky python was also killed by Chen. Without its head, the sky python died. Its corpse fell to the ground. Luo Yi looked at the dead sky python and praised with a smile, "Amazing." Chen nodded in response. He had a good impression of Luo Yi. Then, he flashed and flew in another direction. Martin and Lunky were surprised that the battle ended so easily. At the same time, they became more confident. With Chen's participation, the 2 of them went all out. Although the 2 of them were not from the official army, they were extraordinary since they were able to assess the recruits for the official army. After the 2 of them went all out, they could join forces to deal with a 5-headed sky python. Blood splattered. 5 sky pythons died. Chen killed one while the other 4 were killed by the 2 of them. The battle ended easily. Martin laughed and said, "Chen, thank goodness you came. Otherwise, we would have been injured, and it wouldn't have been so easy." 2 heavenly pythons. Chen had killed 4 of them by himself. His aura was not weak or chaotic at all. How amazing was that? At this moment, an even more hearty laugh rang out. Fate, it's really fate. Someone was approaching from the horizon. Martin turned to look at the horizon, his face immediately turning gloomy. Luo Mu actually came again, and this time, he brought a few more people with him. Lunky's face was also very gloomy. He couldn't understand how these guys followed them. At this moment, they saw another familiar face in the group. It was Thoughtless, who had been disqualified a few days ago. He was now in the Blood Scorpion Corps. There was also a Blood Scorpion symbol on his chest. It was obvious that he had joined the Blood Scorpion Corps. "Martin, we meet again." Thoughtless looked at Martin with an extremely cold expression. "It's you." Martin said coldly. "What?" Fusai came forward. "You dare to do it but don't dare to admit it." The mercenaries of God have always been secretive. How could their tracks be discovered? You were the one who informed Luo Mu. To be honest, you're the spy. Martin's eyes flashed coldly. This is called intelligence, not spying. Do you understand intelligence? Thoughtless smiled coldly. The group had already arrived. Zichen was not too surprised by the arrival of these people. Instead, he heaved a sigh of relief. Luo Mu and the others had snatched the 5 heavenly pythons, so it didn't matter. It was Thoughtless who was so annoying. He had targeted Zichen several times, which had completely infuriated him. Therefore, this person had to die. Luo Mu came forward and laughed. Look, you've snatched our things again. What do you think we should do? The others heard him and laughed. Martin had encountered the same choice a few days ago. Now that they had more people, the answer was obvious. Brother, I think they don't want to do it this time. Why don't we kill them all together? Thoughtless smiled coldly. She glanced at the group and finally fixed her eyes on Zichen. I think this guy wants to die. Look, he looks like he wants to die. Then Thoughtless looked at Martin and said, and him. When I left last time, I only asked for 1/5 of the resources out of kindness. But he didn't appreciate it. He even threatened to tell me to get lost and that he would kill me the next time he saw me. How could that happen? Luo Mu raised his eyebrows and said unhappily to Martin, Martin, you're disrespecting your brother by doing this. Martin's face was very gloomy. He didn't care when his things were snatched, because he had expected that something was wrong with Thoughtless. But now she was here again. Obviously, something was wrong. Luo Mu extended 2 fingers and said, you have 2 choices. First, we take what belongs to us. Then, you apologize to my brother and give him some resources as compensation. Second, we fight a bloody battle. After killing you, we take the things and leave. Luo Mu, you've gone too far. Na Man said coldly from behind. Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me? Believe it or not, you'll be the first to die. Luo Mu narrowed his eyes, which were as sharp as knives. Luo Yi shook his head and said, boring. This is too boring. Zichen, what do you think? It's very boring. As soon as Zichen finished speaking, he descended to the ground. What are you doing? Seeing Zichen move, Thoughtless shouted. Of course, I'm going to get the spoils. What else can I do? Zichen said lightly. It's our things. We don't need your help. Thoughtless Sai shouted coldly, but Zichen didn't pay any attention to him. He descended, and rays of light flashed, bringing back the body and the head of the python. Trash, I said don't move. Thoughtless shouted again and rushed towards Zichen. His eyes were full of murderous intent and surging divine light. Zichen's body shone brightly and released a powerful aura. Bang! Thoughtless, who was rushing forward, flew backward. The defense on the surface of his body was constantly distorted and was almost broken. Such a scene made the other people's faces change. Thoughtless combat strength was naturally very strong since he could participate in the assessment. However, he was sent flying by Zichen in an instant. Was he a 5-headed heavenly python? Thoughtless' face was full of fear. The blow just now was no weaker than the 5-headed heavenly python's attack. Luo Mu raised his eyebrows and said in surprise, I didn't expect there to be an existence comparable to a 5th-class heavenly python in your team. But unfortunately, we're all python slayers, and we're professional python slayers. Martin and Lunky looked at each other calmly. They had seen Zichen's powerful combat strength 3 years ago. Now that 3 years had passed, Zichen's combat strength was much stronger. Now that he had taken action, he was naturally confident. Chapter 29-22. Thoughtless was frightened by Zichen's power. But obviously, he had more people on his side. No matter how strong Zichen was, it was impossible for him to beat them all. Zichen, how dare you steal from the Blood Scorpion Legion? You're courting death. Thoughtless stood beside Luo Mu, his eyes flashing fiercely. Zichen glanced at him and said indifferently, you don't have much time left. Say what you want to say. Thoughtless was stunned, but he said nothing. His expression kept changing. How dare you threaten my people in front of me? You're interesting. Luo Mu laughed, and there was an undisguised killing intent in his smile. Zichen, you're too reckless. You'll get us killed. Apologize quickly. Just then, a voice came from behind. It was Na Man. Zichen looked back at Na Man with a meaningful smile on his face. Even if I do, I'll get them killed. What does it have to do with you? What do you mean by that? Na Man was startled. Zichen said indifferently, don't you know how they got here? Na Man's face darkened. Zichen, make it clear. What does it have to do with me? Do you mean I led them here? Nonsense. I can say you led them here. I'm not the only one here. Na Man said excitedly. Next to him, Luo Yi said, are you going to fight or not? It's getting more and more boring. Who are these people? Fight. Zichen just said one word and then chanted. The surrounding void began to distort. 8 Saber Ancestors tablets broke through the void and formed a Saber domain. At this moment, everyone was in the domain. This is it. Seeing this scene, Martin and Lunky both had excited expressions on their faces. 3 years ago, Zichen used this trick to kill the 5-headed sky serpent by himself. Feeling the oppressive aura from the domain, Luo Mu and the others' faces changed. He wasn't afraid of these people, not even Zichen. However, Zichen appeared to be too calm at this moment, which made him feel uneasy. Thus, he shouted, Martin, are you sure you want to fight the Blood Scorpion Legion? Zichen said indifferently, what does this have to do with Brother Martin? You want to steal my things, so isn't it right and proper for me to kill you? Shameless boasting. Based on. Before Luo Mu could finish, he felt a gust of wind blow at him. It was a light breeze at first, but then the wind grew stronger and turned into a storm. Before he could even see Zichen, he felt a force hit his chest, as if he had been hit by a moving mountain. With a loud bang, a powerful fluctuation spread out in all directions. Thoughtless, who was standing beside Luo Mu, felt her vision blur for a moment before her body flew out uncontrollably. He was sent flying by the energy and was not Zichen's target. Zichen's target was Luo Mu. Luo Mu was sent flying by his punch. As he flew back, the defense on his body distorted and shattered. Zichen stood where Luo Mu had been. The people around him had all been sent flying by the energy shockwaves and scattered in various parts of the domain. The surroundings became quiet. No one spoke. Everyone widened their eyes and stared at Zichen in shock. That scene just now gave everyone the misconception that a 5-headed heavenly python had made a move. After a short moment of silence, Luo Mu stared at Zichen in shock. You. Who are you? Zichen walked forward. Who I am is not important. What's important is that you want to steal my things, so I have to kill you. With that, he charged forward. Another gust of wind blew past. The light breeze became a strong wind, and the strong wind became a storm. The storm engulfed Luo Mu. Scram! In the storm, Luo Mu roared. Divine light lingered around his body, and a divine sword appeared in his hand. The blade was sharp, and a powerful aura emanated from it. The sound of weapons colliding rang out. It was very urgent, like fine raindrops. The sounds of fighting suddenly stopped. The sweeping storm disappeared, and Zichen stood indifferently. Luo Mu's body froze, and he held his sword in front of him. The sword reflected his face and illuminated his eyes. They were a pair of eyes that were filled with terror. The next moment, a line of blood flowed from his neck. His head was separated from his body, and divine blood splattered in the domain. Luo Mu was dead. As the strongest person in the team, Luo Mu had died just like that. It had only been a few breaths of time. Roy looked at Zichen in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. As expected, he's getting stronger and stronger. Martin and Lunky were very shocked. Luo Mu's strength was similar to theirs, and they did not expect him to be killed just like that. Thoughtless was so frightened that he could not say a word. He did not expect Zichen to be so strong. Zichen's gaze swept around. The others were also terrified. Run. The next moment, this thought appeared in their minds, and they decided to run away. Even if a 5-headed sky python was standing here, they would not be so weak. But the opponent was obviously much stronger than the five-headed sky python. When they encountered the barrier, their bodies came into contact with the barrier, and they were strongly repelled. This domain is not used to kill people, because you are not worthy of it. Zi Chen's cold voice rang out. His figure flashed, and he disappeared from where he stood. With a boom, another punch broke through the armor. Then, with a flash of brilliance, another person died. Boom. Powerful energy began to surge. The other members of the Blood Scorpion Corps were like crazy, constantly attacking the barrier. The 8 saber ancestors' steelies floated in the void, and these attacks could not shake them at all. Zi Chen's body flashed with the light of yin and yang. His figure flickered, and in a flash, he appeared in front of a person. Then, the golden light flashed again. It was Zi Chen's fist. One punch broke through the armor. These people were wearing mid-grade armor, but in front of Zi Chen, this armor could only block one attack for them. After the armor was broken, death shrouded them. Kill him. Someone roared and rushed forward. His divine aura burst out to the limit. But it was useless. In the flash of energy, the person who rushed forward flew out. The next moment, the golden light flashed, and blood splattered. After several people were killed in succession, the rest of the people looked at each other with confused expressions. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me." Someone shouted loudly and kept begging for mercy. Zi Chen's eyes were full of indifference, and he rushed past. At this moment, Martin and the others were full of shock. At this moment, Zi Chen was more terrifying than a 5th-class heavenly beast. He was only a 5th-class heavenly beast, the same level as them. How could he be so powerful? Na Man stood there, his face extremely pale, and his body was trembling. Recalling what Zi Chen had said before, fear began to spread from the corners of his eyes. In the distance, Thoughtless Thoughts was even worse. He wanted to escape, but he could not break through the barrier. He was frightened and screamed in horror. Boom. Zi Chen was like the god of death. Wherever he went, the divine generals would be killed. He was not wearing armor, but he killed those who were wearing armor. So far, no one's attack could land on him. The surroundings suddenly became quiet. There were not many people standing in the field, and there were many corpses on the ground. Chapter 29-23. It became quiet all of a sudden. Thoughtless Sai, who was still attacking the barrier, suddenly trembled and turned around slowly. He knew why he hadn't died yet. Zi Chen wanted him to feel fear. He wanted him to suffer mental torture. Now that everyone was dead, it was his turn. His face was full of terror. He turned around and saw Zi Chen walking toward him. "Zi Chen, don't kill me. I was wrong," Thoughtless said in a trembling voice. She was so frightened that her voice trembled. Zi Chen looked at him without saying a word. He didn't stop walking. He didn't walk fast, but every step seemed to be stepping on Thoughtless Sai's heart. He felt that his heart would explode at any time. "I was wrong. I shouldn't have targeted you. Give me a chance. I'll change." Thoughtless Sai looked at Zi Chen with hope. His face was full of pleading. Zi Chen looked at Thoughtless Sai and said indifferently, "People like you shouldn't live in this world." This sentence had sentenced Thoughtless Sai's fate. With a booming sound, Thoughtless Sai's body flew backward and smashed into the barrier. The barrier rippled, and the armor on Thoughtless Sai's body was twisted and broken. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me." Thoughtless Sai screamed in terror. I know the secret of the Blood Scorpion Corps. They found a relic. Let me go, and I'll tell you where it is." "Relic?" Zi Chen frowned. It was a familiar word, but also a strange word. It was familiar because he had seen many relic sites. It was strange because he couldn't believe there were relic sites in this world. "Are you serious?" Martin flew forward and stared at Thoughtless Sai with a serious expression. "It's absolutely true. If I lie, I'll be struck by lightning." Thoughtless Sai said in terror, "Let me go, and I'll take you there." Martin looked at Zi Chen with a serious expression. Apparently, this was a serious matter. Zi Chen turned around and stared at Na Man with cold light in his eyes. He released a murderous intent. Na Man's face instantly turned pale. He said without hesitation, "I know that place too." Hearing that, Thoughtless' face was filled with despair. He yelled hysterically at Na-man, "Na-man, you damn." A golden light flashed across Thoughtless' eye's neck. Blood gushed out, and Thoughtless' head left her body. Martin was stunned and turned to look at Na-man. Martin was furious that Luomu and the others were able to chase after him. He did not expect that Naman was the problem. But how did Zichen find out about this even though he had done a thorough investigation? Along the way, I heard them talk about this matter. It is said that it is an extremely small historical site. The upper echelons of the Blood Scorpion Corps do not attach much importance to it, but these people are very excited. They plan to snatch you guys before going there. Of course, they do not exclude the possibility of killing you. Shadowless' voice sounded beside Zichen. Previously, when Martin let Thoughtless leave, Zichen asked Shadowless to follow her. He did not intend to let Thoughtless go. Shadowless had overheard their conversation and naturally knew who was informing them. Zichen turned around and stared at Na-man. "I will take you to the historical site. I promise that I will not play any tricks." As he spoke, Na-man immediately took out the hyacinth communication bead from his divine ring. His body glowed and the bead shattered. "I can no longer communicate. I promise that I will cooperate fully," he promised solemnly, but his heart was filled with fear. Regardless of whether Zichen had proof or not, Na-man did not intend to continue. Because he would die if he did. With Zichen's combat ability, killing him was too easy. Therefore, when Zichen looked at him, he already knew what to do. Because only one of them could live. Relatively speaking, he had never angered Zichen, so he had a higher chance of survival. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had to cooperate. He seized this opportunity. And so, Thoughtless died. In order to show his stance, he even destroyed the hyacinth communication bead. This would better show his stance. No matter what, he had to save his life. Zichen retracted his gaze from Na-man and looked at Martin and Lunky. Their expressions were extremely awkward. There were only 3 people in the trial this time, and 2 of them were from the Blood Scorpion Legion. We were too impatient and did not investigate carefully. Martin smiled bitterly. However, his words clearly proved that the mercenaries of God were seriously lacking in manpower. Perhaps they had really suffered heavy losses in the depths and urgently needed new blood. Zichen looked at Luo Yi, who smiled at him and said, "Why? Are you going to attack me? That would be interesting." Zichen smiled and said, "It is indeed interesting. Before we talk about the historical site, shouldn't we divide the spoils?" The spoils that Zichen was talking about were naturally the 2 5-headed sky pythons. As for the people he killed, the spoils he obtained belonged to him. Of course, he would not distribute them. "Take them all. If it weren't for you, we would have been finished." Lun Ku sighed. Luo Yi did not object. Na-man did not dare to object. Zichen shook his head and said, "That is that. Didn't you ask me to come here to help? It is my duty to help. Even if you don't want it, the Legion has to take it. Don't the people who provided the information have to take it too?" After a round of modesty, Zichen received 1 5-headed sky python and gave the other to Lunky. As for how he would distribute it, it was not up to Zichen. Let's talk about the historical site. It seems to be very important. After the resources were distributed, Zichen talked about the historical site. Martin said, "It's not just important. It's extremely important. All the historical sites in this area are prehistoric." Prehistoric? Zichen was stunned when he heard this. It is said that the historical site was left behind when the creatures from another dimension invaded. At that time, the gods fought against the creatures from another dimension, and many of their legacies were lost in the war. It was through these historical sites that many of the gods' legacies were rediscovered, Martin said. It is said that even the gods obtained the historical site here and benefited greatly. This is obviously hearsay. He can't be completely sure. The first invasion of the creatures from another dimension was very long ago, so long ago that it was impossible to verify. To be honest, in our era, it was the first large-scale battle with the creatures from another dimension. At that time, there were no gods, and it was impossible for there to be any legacies of the gods. Shadowless said aloud. In terms of age, Shadowless was the oldest. The first generation of Defiant of the Heavens had existed for too long, even before the 9 great gods of the god realm. At that time, the primal Chaos clan was the strongest. They mastered many mysterious techniques. It is said that they were derived from the Great Tao and were very powerful. Chapter 29-24. Chen already knew what happened next. After the war, Shadowless somehow did not die. When he woke up, the world had changed. The chaotic race had disappeared, and the divine race had risen. It was said that they were the primal Chaos clan of the past, but they had more people now, and they had a new cultivation method, which made them stronger than before. At least, before the Great War, whether it was the Life Stars or the Chaotic clan, there was no existence at the level of Heavenly God. Martin did not know about Shadowless' existence. He said excitedly, "If the prehistoric site is real, we might be able to get the prehistoric combat skills. That's amazing. Not only us, but also the heavenly beasts want the prehistoric site. They even fought a war for it. The heavenly beasts want the site too?" Chen was very confused. Martin said, "Not all the sites are inheritances. Most of them are not inheritances, but something. But as something passed down from ancient times, there must be rules imprinted on it. Once you comprehend it, you can understand its essence. It's the same for the divine generals and the heavenly beasts. The heavenly beasts have more advantages than us." Chen nodded. He did not expect the site to be like this. "This is too important. I have to inform the army," Martin said. Chen, "Don't worry. Usually, the site can be comprehended many times. If there are other prehistoric weapons, we won't take them. Except for the comprehension, everything there is for you." At this moment, Chen was also thinking about whether he should go back and call Tyrant and the rest. However, just as this thought appeared, he immediately dispelled it. He did not know whether the road ahead was dangerous or not. If he rashly brought people over, it would not be good if he put everyone in danger. He looked at Na Man said, "From the information I got, the site is not big. Some people from the Blood Scorpion army have already gone there. If we don't go now, we might not be able to catch up." This time, Luo Mu's idea was simple. He wanted to rob Martin, and then Fu Sai and Na Man could successfully infiltrate the army and get all kinds of information. But something happened in the middle, which made them change their plan. But they did not expect that everything would be ruined by Chen. After hearing what Numan said, Martin gave up on the idea of informing the army. Everyone followed Numan to the ruins. Shadowless had said so before, so Chen wasn't worried. As they continued to move forward, Chen released his spiritual senses and probed the surroundings. During this time, Martin explained some information about the ruins in this world to Chen. Although he had never seen the real ruins with his own eyes, he had heard about it from others in the army. 3 days later, they entered a mountain range. The mountain peaks were tall and majestic, but they were still bare, without any vegetation. This world was desolate, and there was very little greenery. It seemed to indicate that there was very little life in this world. As they continued forward, the further they walked, the more desolate it became. This made Chen very suspicious. How exactly did those people discover the ruins? Some ruins may suddenly appear due to changes in the terrain. In some cases, due to the passage of time, the power of the rules has loosened, resulting in a temporary appearance. Martin said, "In this world, there are many people who specialize in traveling in remote areas in search of ruins. Like the intelligence personnel in your army?" Chen asked. "More or less. But they're a special kind of existence. They're specially provided for by the army. Also, after discovering the ruins, they won't get extra shares, only corresponding rewards. Ruins were not like those sky pythons that would be discovered every once in a while. Sometimes, one would not be discovered for hundreds of years. Sometimes, one would not be discovered for thousands of years. During this long period of time, they needed the army to provide for them." After entering this mountain range, the group walked for a few more days. On the way, Numan was silent and did not show any abnormalities. "We're almost there, right?" Chen, who was walking at the front, suddenly asked. Numan was startled. He said, "How do you know? There's someone up ahead." Chen's spiritual senses could spread far and wide, and he was able to detect places that others could not. "Oh!" Numan's eyes flashed with surprise. He said, "If that's the case, let's be careful." Chen said, "Yes, we have to be careful. There are many of them, and they're trying to break the seal." The group continued to move forward, but their speed was slower. With Chen's guidance, they did not have to worry about exposing their whereabouts. Outside a canyon, a group of divine generals stood. They were all wearing armor, and their bodies were surging with a strong aura. There were many dried bloodstains on the ground around the canyon. The heavenly beasts that had surrounded this place had all been killed. The leader was a middle-aged man. He was not wearing armor. Among the people shining with divine light, he looked very different. However, when the people behind him looked at him, not only did they not mock him, but they were also full of respect. This man was the leader of the group. He had a 6th-grade physical body and was quite famous in the Bloodscorpion Corps. Although the ruins this time were not very big, they could not afford to lose. Therefore, they sent a 6th-grade physical body to guard the place. In front of him, there were more than 10 people. They surrounded the canyon and kept forming seals. The power of rules appeared and fell in front of them, causing the space to distort. "Sir, except for Luo Mu, everyone is here." A person walked out from behind and said respectfully, "There's no response to the message. Do you want to send someone to take a look?" The 6th-grade physical body in front of him said indifferently, "No need. Send someone to guard the surroundings." "Yes." The sir looked in front of him. The space there was constantly distorting, and there was an ancient aura faintly permeating from it. "It's not a big ruin. If we can get a remnant, it'll be considered a gain." The 6th-grade physical body said indifferently. At this moment, the divine formation masters exerted their strength together. The space in front of them distorted even more violently and finally exploded. The rules were shattered. The canyon was no longer in front of them, but a wide plain. Obviously, this was an overlapping space. At this moment, they had opened another passage. "Let's go." After the space stabilized, the existence of the 6th-grade physical body waved his hand and flew forward. The people behind him followed into the passage. Finally, the divine formation masters and the people who were on guard in the distance all entered. The scene in the depths had been perceived by Chen with his spiritual thoughts. After checking that the last person had entered, he signaled the others to speed up. Like streaks of lightning cutting across the sky, the group of 5 flew forward. Soon, they saw the canyon and the desolate plain in the middle of the canyon. Whoosh. Chapter 29-25. After entering the overlapping space from the canyon, a desolate plain appeared in front of them. An ancient and desolate aura assaulted their senses. "It really is a prehistoric site." Feeling this aura, Martin exclaimed in surprise, his expression becoming excited. This was the first time he saw a prehistoric site since coming to this world. Although he had seen it a few times in the army over the years, he missed it for some reason. Every time he thought about it, he felt regret. This time, he finally had the chance to visit the site in person. Chen extended his spiritual senses and checked the plain. After a while, he frowned and said, "This place seems to have been opened before." "What?" When they heard this, their expressions changed. If this place had been opened before, it obviously meant that the thing had been taken away. In other words, this site was empty and there was no more opportunity. They became depressed. They also saw the traces of a great battle. Although the blood had dried up, they could tell that it was not left behind by prehistoric times. Perhaps many years ago, this place had been opened by someone and a great battle had even broken out. If it had been opened before, this place should have been abandoned. Why would the rules cover this place again? Lunky asked in confusion. In this world, many sites would be discovered, but they would be abandoned forever after being opened and would not be hidden again. Because the thing that could cause the rules to change had disappeared, the rules of the space would naturally disappear and integrate into this world. Could it be that there is still something here that has not been taken away? And it is the most important thing. When they thought of this possibility, They became excited again. Only a powerful thing could cause the rules of space to distort and overlap with a certain space, leaving behind a prehistoric site. Now that there were traces of a great battle here, it meant that this place had been opened before. However, the rules did not disappear. Did this mean that the thing that caused the space to be hidden was still here? Zichen released his spiritual senses. He did not find the people from before, but he found a space barrier. Let's go. The group flew toward the space barrier, their speed getting faster and faster. Soon, they arrived at the space barrier. Ripples surged as they entered the center. This place was still empty and there was nothing else. The traces of a great battle became more obvious. There were huge claw marks on the ground and even some scales that had exhausted their spiritual power. It looks like a battle between heavenly beasts, Martin said in a deep voice as he looked at the ancient traces around him. The others nodded in agreement. Judging from the battlefield, that was indeed the case. There are some heavenly beasts that are able to discover overlapping dimensions and enter them to gain insights into the prehistoric ruins. Martin said, it seems that they were the ones who found this place first, but they probably didn't get that important thing. At this moment, everyone was increasingly certain that there would be a great harvest here. In the chaotic plains, an ancient and desolate aura surged in all directions. Everyone continued to move forward. During this time, Na-Man remained silent. Now that he was no longer needed to lead the way, he couldn't help but feel worried. He went deeper and deeper, and in the meantime, he had gone deeper into several levels. Sure. When they entered the first level again, what entered everyone's eyes was a boundless amount of dazzling divine light and a tyrannical aura. Seeing the dazzling divine light, Na-Man's eyes flashed with surprise. The divine light enveloped the five of them. When Martin and the others saw their surroundings, their faces turned ugly. They were surrounded by dozens of people, and in front of them stood a divine general without armor. Seeing the divine general, Martin's face changed drastically. He exclaimed, "Uris." Lunky obviously knew this person, and his face turned ugly. The divine general with a 6th-stage physical body was very famous in the Blood Scorpion Corps. He was already a team leader. Is he very strong? Roy asked. A 6th-stage physical body. Do you think he's strong? Martin said bitterly. Oh. Roy replied with an oh, and his expression was calm. You killed Luo Mu? Yui's looked at Zichen and asked coldly. That's right. Zichen nodded and glanced at Na-Man. Na-Man's figure flashed and flew forward. He stood with the others and stared indifferently at Zichen and the others. You all treat me like an idiot, but you don't know that in my eyes, you are the real idiot. Na-Man sneered. Now, it's time to catch a turtle in a jar. Zichen looked at Na-Man and smiled faintly. For some reason, this smile made Na-Man feel infinite fear. Since you've admitted it, then before Yui's could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Roy. I say, the opportunity here should be on the last level, right? Didn't you surround us here to fight? Why don't we start now? Arrogant. Yui's eyes flashed coldly. Roy smiled and said, whether I'm arrogant or not, you'll know when you try. With that, divine light surged on his body and he flew to the side. Zichen, I'll leave the 6th stage to you. Roy, who was moving forward, divine light lingered on his body. He arrived in front of a divine general wearing mid-grade armor. A long spear appeared in his hand, and he struck forward with it. With a boom, divine light sputtered, and the divine general in front was sent flying by the spear. As he flew backward, the defensive light on his body distorted and then exploded, breaking the defense with one strike. Whoosh! Roy did not slow down. His spear fell and pierced the divine general's throat. Blood splattered, and the divine general fell to the ground, dead. 2 strikes had killed a 5th-stage divine general. When Martin and Lunky saw this scene, they were completely stunned. They did not expect Roy to have such powerful combat strength. Na-Man was also shocked. Roy usually did not reveal his strength, so he did not expect him to be so terrifying. You're courting death. Yui's eyes flashed coldly as he flew forward. A golden light flashed and blocked in front of him. Your opponent is me. Zichen looked at Yui's and said, coincidentally, I also want to end the battle here. Go to hell. Yuri's body flashed with divine light. The power of a sixth-stage body was activated, and he punched at Zichen. Boundless divine light flashed, and a terrifying pressure appeared between heaven and earth. The punch was aimed at Zichen. Humph. Zichen snorted coldly when he felt the powerful force contained in this punch. He also clenched his fist and attacked. On the surface of his fist, the light of yin and yang circulated. Although he had a fifth-stage body, he was not afraid of a sixth-stage body because he had powerful yin and yang energy. The grade of the body was important, but the energy of a ninth-stage body could not be ignored. Both had fifth-stage bodies, but the difference in combat strength between an ordinary ninth-stage body and a ninth-stage body on the role of generals was huge. Boom. The two fists collided. The world shook, and a powerful shockwave spread out. Under this shockwave, the divine generals in the distance retreated in fear. The energy surged, wreaking havoc. Zichen stood where he was. Chapter 29-26. Seeing Yuri's flying backward, the faces of the surrounding god generals were filled with shock. The two of them were clearly one grade apart, but the outcome was like this. Swish. The retreating Yuris disappeared, and the divine light before Zichen's eyes shone brightly. A fist broke through the divine light and went straight for Yuris's face. The wind whistled, and Zichen's robe flapped against his body. He was drowned in the divine light. Boom. A huge tremor. The divine light raged wildly, and the fist containing yin and yang energy tore through the divine light with a vast momentum. The divine light on Yuris's body shattered, and his body flew backward again. His face was somewhat pale and extremely unsightly. His robe trembled slightly, and Zichen rushed forward. The power of yin and yang surrounded his body, and the dazzling fist light filled the world. Boom. 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 The two of them fought, and powerful energy raged in the air. The space was constantly distorted, and it could be torn apart at any time. The surrounding fifth-grade god generals retreated into the distance, fear on their faces. They did not even dare to get close to such a battle, let alone participate. Na-Man was the first to retreat. Although he had shattered his communication bead in front of everyone, he had already sent out a message before that. He had been extremely silent and cooperative along the way because he believed that he could get out of danger after coming here. Zichen's previous glance showed that he already knew about this matter, but he was not afraid because Lord Yuri's was overseeing it, and Lord Yuri's had a sixth-grade body. But he did not expect that even a powerhouse like Lord Yuri's could not suppress Zichen. In addition, Roy's outburst was also beyond his expectations. In the previous battle, Roy's combat strength was not much stronger than his. He did not expect him to hide his strength, and when he truly unleashed his full power, he could slaughter those of the same level. After unleashing his full power, Roy's combat strength was not weaker than Zichen's. He could break the enemy's defense with one strike and kill with the second strike. They were both fifth-grade god generals, but they could not withstand a single blow from him. Roars sounded everywhere, and divine fluctuations surged in all directions. 5 of the same level had already died in Roy's hands. Martin and Lunky were on guard. The two of them had not made a move yet, and those people had not made a move against them. They were all surrounding Roy. At that moment, their faces were filled with astonishment. Zichen's combat strength was already beyond his expectations, but he didn't expect Roy to be so strong as well. While they were shocked, the two of them were also pleasantly surprised. If both of them could join the army, the divine mercenaries would welcome 2 capable generals. The two of them looked ahead and saw the battle between Zichen and Yuri's. Yuri's was very famous in the Blood Scorpion Legion. He was the leader of a troop and had a real rank 6 physical body. Such a powerful existence couldn't gain the slightest advantage in front of Zichen. Energy rumbled as divine light sputtered in all directions. Yuri's was once again sent flying backward. There were several tears on his robe, his hair was disheveled, and blood was flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He looked very miserable. His eyes were very sharp as they fell on Zichen. He said, "You're very good, very good." Zichen looked at Yuri's with a solemn expression. He seemed to have the upper hand, but in fact, he knew very well that he had already mobilized powerful energy. Although a rank 6 physical body was only one level higher than a rank 5 physical body, its combat strength was much stronger. If not for the fact that his opponent's energy attack was weak, he would have been defeated long ago. Although his opponent was injured, his aura was not weak at all. Instead, Zichen felt a strong threat. Buzz. Light appeared on Yuri's body. Divine light surrounded him like a rainbow, constantly changing. An even more terrifying aura emerged, and boundless divine light shrouded heaven and earth. As if a heavenly might had descended, the surrounding battle paused. Everyone turned to look ahead. The robe on Yuri's body disappeared and was replaced by a set of colorful battle armor. The pressure that was like the might of the heavens was emanating from the battle armor. Even if Zichen didn't understand the grade of armor, he knew that it was a high-grade armor. Yuri's really got a high-grade armor. Martin and Lunky were shocked to see this. Previously, they felt that Yuri's was not wearing armor, which was very unusual. They didn't expect him to be hiding a high-grade armor. In order to forge such a battle armor, the requirements for the materials used were extremely high. It was said that at the very least, one would need to use materials from a grade 6 heavenly beast to forge it. Even some weapon forgers who were not that skilled would need to use grade 7 heavenly beast materials to forge it. Now, Yuri's, who had a rank 6 physical body, was using a high-grade armor. It was as if a tiger had grown wings, and his combat strength had increased several times. Under such circumstances, would Zichen still be a match for him? Both Lunky and Martin started to worry. Zichen's expression became serious. The aura emitted by his opponent was much stronger than his. Go to hell! Yuri's rushed forward and clenched his fist. Divine light shrouded heaven and earth like a canopy. His fist broke through the canopy. The void was constantly distorted. The fist, which was surrounded by colorful light, carried a destructive aura. Zichen clenched his fist and mobilized all his strength. The yin and yang forces on the surface of his fist became very active at this moment. When the two fists met, heaven and earth suddenly trembled. A wave visible to the naked eye spread out. Zichen was sent flying for the first time. His body flew backward and the yin and yang light on the surface of his body dimmed. Zichen's expression changed and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Seeing Zichen coughing up blood, Luo Yi frowned in the distance. Martin and Lunky, on the other hand, were extremely worried as they rushed forward. Whoosh! Whoosh! Several beams of divine light appeared and blocked Martin and Lunky. Na Man, who had been nervous all this time, was finally relieved. After using his strongest move, the gap between the two was very obvious. He believed that even if Zichen had other moves that he had not used, it would not be Lord Yuri's. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Zichen's hand flashed and his saber appeared in his hand. The high-grade armor had increased Yuri's combat strength again. This made him feel strained. Naturally, he had to use his saber. Whoosh! With a flash of divine light, he disappeared on the spot and appeared beside Yuri's as if he had teleported. He unsheathed his saber. The yin and yang light shone and the saber radiance shot forward. Boom! Yuri's turned around and punched. When his fist landed, the saber radiance exploded. Zichen's figure flashed again and appeared on the other side. Then, he slashed again. One attack after another appeared. The saber slashed down again and again. Wearing a high-grade armor, Yuri's combat strength had not only increased, but his speed had also increased significantly. All of Zichen's attacks were destroyed by his fists. It's useless. The difference between our realms is like heaven and earth, he said coldly. His aura was extremely strong. Zichen smiled. His smile was sarcastic and mocking. Is that so? As his laughter fell, the void distorted and 8 saber ancestors' steles appeared from the void. Chapter 29-27. Inside the domain, Yuri's expression changed. Even though he was wearing an upper-tier armor, he still felt a sense of pressure. Zichen stood in the domain, surrounded by the light of yin and yang. He rose into the air with a cold expression. The 8 saber ancestors' steles began to tremble and sharp saber will emerged. When Lunky and Martin saw this, They knew that this was Zi Chen's powerful killing move. Their hearts were filled with anticipation. Na Man was very confident in Master Yuri's. However, when he saw the confident smile on Zi Chen's face, he somehow felt uneasy. Go to hell! The pressure in Yuiz's heart grew. He roared and rushed forward. Rays of divine light emerged from his body and a powerful aura was released from his armor. A long spear with divine light appeared in his hand. He thrust the spear forward and an ear-piercing sound rang through the sky. The domain was immediately filled with divine light. In the eyes of the people outside, there was nothing but divine light. A sharp whistling sound rang through the domain. The spear stabbed directly at Zi Chen's chest. If such a powerful attack landed on Zi Chen without the protection of armor, it would not only penetrate his chest, but also shatter his body. Buzz! At this moment, Zi Chen unsheathed his saber. The saber light slashed forward like a waterfall. The saber will from the saber ancestors' steelies fell. The 8 saber wills fell on the saber light one after another. The saber light and the long spear collided. There was a roar in the domain. The boundless divine light that shrouded the domain dissipated. Everyone could see what was in the domain again. Yuri's, who was wearing an upper-tier armor, was sent flying. What? Seeing this, everyone's faces were filled with disbelief. Yuri's, who had a rank 6 body and an upper-tier armor, was no match for Zi Chen, who was a rank 5. Buzz! At this moment, the domain rippled again. 8 saber wills fell from the sky and landed on the long saber again. The blade slashed forward and met the long spear in Yuiz's hand again. The energy vibrated. Yuiz's long spear fell from his hand. He was sent flying again and hit the barrier, causing ripples. He looked in front of him in shock. Zi Chen's third slash fell. He let out a loud shout as he clenched his fists and crossed them in front of him. A divine light defense appeared. The saber gleam descended, and a powerful energy swept out. Yuri's had nowhere to retreat. With his back against the barrier, his energy wreaked havoc, stirring up even more ripples behind him, causing the barrier to distort. The light of his armor dimmed visibly, as if it could not withstand the power contained in the saber light. A look of shock appeared on his face, and then it turned into a deep fear. It should be known that he was wearing a high-grade armor. Even a rank 6 physical body would not be able to break through such an armor easily. However, this rank 5 physical body in front of him only used a few attacks and his defense was about to crumble. Boom! The energy trembled and rumbled. The divine light rolled away like a wave and then dispersed. The surface defense of the upper-grade armor was shattered. Under Yuiz's terrified expression, the blade swept across his neck. Blood splattered everywhere as his head was separated from his body. Although the upper armor was powerful, Zi Chen's attack was not weak either. Together with the blade realm, he could still break through the armor. The domain disappeared, and Yuiz's body was taken away. Zi Chen turned around and looked at the Blood Scorpion Legion members. Run! Their faces were filled with fear as they ran away without hesitation. Do you think you can run? Zi Chen's eyes glinted coldly as he disappeared from where he stood. He arrived in front of one of them. A rumble sounded again as a powerful attack was displayed. He killed one person in 2 attacks. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Zi Chen's speed was comparable to teleportation. He flashed in front of the escaping god generals and killed one of them in 2 simple attacks. On the other side, Luo Yi also erupted, and a powerful force surged. After a while, the battle ended. The Blood Scorpion Legion members were all killed. Na Man was also killed by Luo Yi. Martin and Lunky had not participated in the battle. At this moment, there was only shock in their eyes. On the battlefield, brilliance flashed as the spoils were collected by Zi Chen and Luo Yi. Zi Chen was somewhat surprised by Luo Yi's strength. Although he knew that Luo Yi was not weak, he did not expect him to be this strong. Such strength should have been on the God Realm's role of generals. However, Zi Chen did not know much about the God Realm's role of generals and had never heard of Luo Yi's name. Moreover, Luo Yi had been here for who knew how many years. Perhaps he was not from this era. Let's go. There was still one last layer, and it was clearly the most crucial one. Uris had chosen to act here to get rid of the trouble so that he could rest assured and search for opportunities. A barrier appeared on this layer, blocking everyone outside. Although they did not know how to break restrictions, all restrictions in the world could be broken by force as long as they were strong enough. The gold and silver light on Zichen's body flashed once more as boundless power gathered in his right hand. He clenched his fist and punched forward. The spatial barrier twisted, and powerful fluctuations spread out. Buzz. Next to Zichen, Luo Yi stabbed out with his sword. The sword light became incomparably bright and carried with it a terrifying aura. The two attacked together, and the barrier began to tremble. Boom! The barrier shattered, and the entrance appeared. Let's go. Seeing the entrance, the group of people flashed and flew forward. When they arrived at the last layer, an intense pressure appeared in the space. This layer was different from the previous layers, which were empty. There were many white bones here. These white bones were all beast bones, and they were so huge that they looked like mountains of bones piled up there. No one knew how long they had been dead. They were all facing forward, and the flesh on their bodies had long disappeared, leaving only their skeletons. Some of the hard skeletons showed signs of weathering. As far as the eye could see, the skeletons were spread out over a radius of several hundred feet. In front of these skeletons stood a huge rock. The huge rock was blocked by the mountain of bones, and only spiritual senses could see it. Spiritual senses covered the entire area, and they saw that the beast bones were all facing the huge rock, surrounding it. This scene was similar to when many heavenly beasts came here and knelt down facing the huge rock. For some reason, they all died here after kneeling down. Everyone's faces were full of shock, not only because there were bones everywhere, but also because there was a shiny round crystal in each of the bones. Those were the inner cores of heavenly beasts, which could only be formed in the bodies of Tier 5 heavenly beasts. They were different from the crystals of heavenly beasts outside. Each of these inner cores was equivalent to a 5-headed heavenly python, and there were close to 1,000 of them. Everyone was shocked, and their expressions became excited. This was a huge amount of wealth. At this moment, light surged behind them, and another group of people walked in. After seeing everything around them, everyone's face was full of shock, and then they cried out in alarm. Zichen and Luo Yi immediately turned around and looked at the group of people warily. Don't misunderstand, we're on the same side, on the same side. Chapter 29-28. Earlier, when they arrived, Martin had used his communication bead to inform the legions. They had followed Martin's directions and arrived here. He had done this out of goodwill for everyone's safety, but unexpectedly, Zichen and Luo Yi were so strong that they were able to end the battle with just the two of them. Moreover, there were great opportunities here. There were nearly 1,000 inner cores, the lowest of which was rank 5. There might even be rank 6 inner cores. Who wouldn't be envious of them? This was a fortune that would tempt even the legions. It was easy to start a war for this fortune. Martin stood in the middle with an awkward expression. Hearing Martin's words, Zichen and Luo Yi did not let down their guard. Instead, they became even more vigilant. Martin, are these our gains? The leader's eyes flashed as he looked ahead, and his expression became excited. Martin did not know how to answer. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many golden lights flew out of Zichen's body. These lights flew out and turned into human figures. There were more than 1,000 of them, and they landed on the mountain of bones. These were all clones that Zichen had learned from the devil ape. They landed on the mountain of bones, immediately picked up the inner cores of the heavenly beasts, and flew back. When the legions saw this, their expressions changed. How could they let strangers take away such a large fortune? You're courting death. The person who spoke earlier shouted angrily. Divine light surged on his body, releasing the aura of a rank 6. Zichen stepped forward. Yin-yang light surged out of his body, dyeing half the sky. A violent aura surged around him, and the space around him began to distort. Although he was only a rank 5, his aura was no weaker than a rank 6. Yuli's, who was also a rank 6, had turned into a huge high-quality human-shaped divine crystal. The other legions were on high alert, staring ahead indifferently. In the midst of the confrontation, Zichen's clones began to return with the inner cores of the heavenly beasts. Behind the rank 6, the legions were anxious. How could they let strangers take away so many resources? We're on the same side. Everyone, don't fight. Sensing the abnormal atmosphere, Martin hurriedly said. Don't misunderstand, don't fight. Lun Ku also stepped forward. By now, Zichen had already collected all the heavenly beasts' inner cores. Although the remaining skeletons were still a considerable amount of wealth, most of them had already been eroded, and their quality had dropped greatly, and they were not as valuable as the inner cores. Martin, what's going on? You didn't discover the ruins? The rank 6 frowned, looking displeased. No one would be happy to see these inner cores being taken away. The legions had been fighting for years, and they might not even be able to obtain so many heavenly beast inner cores. I didn't discover it. It's like this. Martin told them what had happened and how they had come here. Even so, the two of you can still get half of it. What's the big deal if he takes it all by himself? That rank 6 was still dissatisfied. Zichen ignored him and flew toward the core of the skeleton. Luo Yi glanced at the crowd and followed Zichen forward. Drew, it's not like that. The two of us didn't do anything. It was the two of them who resolved the crisis. Yui's was also killed by Zichen, Martin explained. Eurus? Which Eurus? Drew was stunned. Who else is Eurus among the people you and I know? Martin asked. Drew's expression changed, and so did the legions who had come with him. That person only had a rank 5 physical body. How could he kill a rank 6 Eurus? How was that possible? However, Martin obviously wouldn't lie about something like this. Looking at their changing expressions, Martin said, Eurus was wearing a superior grade armor at the time. As soon as he said this, their expressions changed again. Looking at Zichen's back that was about to disappear into the mountain of bones, their eyes were filled with shock. Just how strong was the other party to be able to break through a high-grade armor? At the same time, they were also filled with joy. They understood why Martin had tried to stop them through voice transmission. Lunky and I didn't do anything from the beginning to the end. The things here should belong to Zichen and Luo Yi, Martin said in the end. Drew's expression changed. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. If that was the case, his words earlier were obviously too much. Moreover, he could see that Martin's praise for the two of them was obviously meant to rope them into the legions. However, his arrival had caused some changes in the situation. Lunky glanced at the beast bones around them. Zichen hadn't taken them away. Obviously, he had left them for the two of them. In that case, Zichen was clearly offended by Drew's words. However, speaking of which, even if the beast bones were a little weathered, there were a lot of them. Naturally, they were a rich resource. Lunky sighed. Compared to these things, he was more willing to let Zichen join the legions because his combat strength was too strong. He would be of great help to the legions when they ventured into the depths. What should we do? Drew frowned. You didn't say it clearly earlier. I'm not sure either. Let's go over first, Martin said. Zichen and Luo Yi came to the giant rock in the middle of the beast bones. The rock was dark brown and stained with blood. Other than that, there was nothing special about it. Luo Yi circled the rock and said, It's a very ordinary blood-stained rock. The blood has already dried up. It looks like it's no longer useful. Zichen's spiritual senses landed on the rock. He felt a fluctuation from it. This fluctuation was very strong and even made him feel threatened. There's a fluctuation. Can't you feel it? Is that so? Let me feel it carefully. Luo Yi came to Zichen's side and extended his spiritual sense forward. This time, his expression was much more serious. A group of heavenly beasts no lower than the 5th stage had died in front of this rock. If one were to say that this rock was ordinary, no one would believe it. After a while, Luo Yi's expression changed. He said, There really is a strong fluctuation. I wonder what it is. Zichen shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. Luo Yi walked forward, and the divine sword appeared in his hand. He said, Let's try to break it. Zichen didn't say anything. It wasn't clear whether he was agreeing or not. Luo Yi slashed down with his sword. The surroundings were illuminated by the divine light, and the dark brown rock became clearer. There were some ancient marks on it. Clang! The divine sword light fell, and sparks flew. Luo Yi's body was pushed back. Zichen knew that Luo Yi had two weapons. This strike wasn't his full strength. Luo Yi steadied himself and said with a serious expression, "No, it's very sturdy. I can't break it even if I use my full strength." "Why don't you try? Let's try to comprehend it first." Zichen shook his head, indicating that he refused. Just like that. Luo Yi frowned slightly and hesitated. The previous scene made him worried. If he tried to comprehend it directly, his back would be exposed to others. Zichen smiled. He didn't trust others, but he trusted Martin and Lunky. Seeing that Zichen had let down his guard, Luo Yi also sat cross-legged next to him. After interacting with him, he realized that Zichen's personality was very good. Not long after, Martin brought some people over. He seemed to want to say something to Zichen, but when he saw Zichen sitting cross-legged, he didn't say anything. Immediately after, they also sat cross-legged not far away and began to comprehend the things in the rock. Drew and the others looked at the rock in front of them, excitement on their faces. For this rock to appear here with so many dead heavenly beasts around it, it was obviously not normal. Chapter 29:29. Time passed, and everyone was comprehending in front of the boulder. Among the group, Zichen felt it the most. The fluctuations in the boulder were very strong, like a strong heart beating. Thump, 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 thump. Slowly, it seemed to connect with his heart. His breathing became difficult. Zichen's breathing became rapid. Next to him, Luo Yi opened his eyes and looked at Zichen's state. A strange light flashed in his eyes. He only felt that there was a strong fluctuation in the boulder. Other than that, he did not feel anything unusual. It was even more impossible to draw out the energy fluctuation. From the looks of it, it was clear that Zichen had gained something. He looked at Zichen and did not continue to comprehend. The others around him were still comprehending with their eyes closed, but they all seemed to be like him. They did not gain anything and were just pretending to be calm. Zichen's breathing became more and more rapid, and his movements became louder and louder. The others opened their eyes and looked at Zichen curiously. Did he gain something? Everyone was stunned, and their expressions were somewhat complicated. They could only feel the energy, but they could not draw it out. Then, some people were unwilling to give up and continued to comprehend with their eyes closed. Not long after, Zichen opened his eyes. His eyes became ferocious and full of murderous intent. He shouted, "Retreat!" Looking at Zichen's current state, Luo Yi knew that something was wrong and immediately retreated. Divine light flashed on his body, and he displayed the fleet-foot stride to the extreme. Martin and the others also retreated without hesitation. Almost as they retreated, a fluctuation appeared from the boulder and spread in all directions. As the fluctuation passed, the few people who had closed their eyes to comprehend and could not escape in time seemed to be frozen in place. The fluctuation spread out in all directions like a wave, passing through these people's bodies and the distant mountains of bones, and then retreating like a wave. However, when it retreated, the skeletons around them turned into dust and scattered. The remaining energy in them was brought back by the wave. The wave entered the boulder with the energy, and the skeletons that were previously everywhere disappeared. The few people who had not retreated in time also turned into dust and disappeared. Their armors, divine rings, souls, and bodies all disappeared. Luo Yi and the others retreated far away and looked ahead in shock. There was only Zichen sitting cross-legged there. There was no one else beside him. At the same time, he rejoiced in his heart. If he hadn't reacted quickly, he would have disappeared without a trace. What's going on? Drew looked ahead, his eyes filled with regret. In an instant, his side had lost 5 people. In the last battle, his team had suffered great losses and urgently needed new recruits to replenish their numbers. This time, they didn't gain anything and actually lost another 5. Martin looked ahead, feeling a lingering fear in his heart, but he didn't say anything. They had all seen Zichen's abnormal situation, so they stopped trying to comprehend it. As for the 5 who had died, they had clearly seen this as well. However, they were unwilling to let Zichen obtain this opportunity. With Zichen's reminder, they reacted and retreated in time. Because the 5 of them continued to comprehend, they didn't react, or rather, they didn't believe it. Speaking of which, he had only himself to blame. At this moment, everyone was standing in the distance, looking ahead. No one dared to step forward. They spread out their divine senses and saw that Zichen's expression had become very ferocious and full of killing intent. His eyes were faintly blood-red, and his entire person became bloodthirsty. Zichen was in a very bad state at this moment. When he was comprehending earlier, he heard a heartbeat in the boulder. The sound gradually overlapped with his heartbeat, and an invisible force invaded his sea of consciousness. He didn't know what this force was, and he couldn't see the essence of this force. However, the other party could control his emotions. A crazy desire to kill appeared in his heart. This emotion urged him to kill everyone here. Zichen's soul was so powerful that he naturally wouldn't be trapped. Just as he was resisting this will, he sensed that the aura in the boulder was becoming stronger and stronger. Thus, he opened his eyes and warned. There were still people who couldn't escape and had died. This shocked him. He also wanted to escape this place, but he found that his body couldn't move. However, he was also unharmed. At that moment, the will that was controlling Zichen became even more tyrannical. Murderous intent filled the air and controlled Zichen to kill. Kill them, and you will become stronger. As long as you kill everyone, you will be able to obtain my power. My power is to kill. This thought sounded in Zichen's mind, but Zichen could no longer tell if it was an external thought that spoke, or if it was the sound of slaughter that was hidden in the depths of his heart. If he couldn't tell, then he wouldn't. If he couldn't tell, then he wouldn't say it. Zichen closed his eyes again and calmed his chi. He perfectly defended himself with his spiritual sense and resisted this invading will. Gradually, the killing intent in his heart disappeared. His body and mind became calm. He expelled that will. Die. However, just as he expelled this will, Zichen heard a cold voice. The huge rock in front of him exploded. The broken pieces of rock shot out in all directions like hidden weapons. Light appeared on Zichen's body. The broken pieces fell on the light, causing ripples. At this moment, a white light appeared and rushed toward Zichen. With a bang, the defense on the surface of his body was shattered. The white light went straight into his mind. The white light entered his mind and turned into a bolt of lightning. It was full of aggression. It wreaked havoc on Zichen's soul. It was very violent. Zichen's consciousness returned to his mind and turned into a golden figure. He stared coldly in front of him. It was a ball of lightning. It was obviously an intelligent creature. The aura on the surface of its body was very violent. As a thunder martial artist, he was sure that it was the aura of thunder. However, it was a thunder aura that he had never seen before. Extraterrestrial thunder? Zichen frowned slightly. Die. After the ball of lightning saw Zichen, it immediately rushed toward him. Endless lightning flashed. Boom. The ball of lightning was extremely fast. It was like a meteorite. It rushed toward Zichen directly. Golden light flashed in Zichen's hand. His soul simulated a sheathed long saber. Swish. With a slash, the golden saber light illuminated the space in his mind and fell on the ball of lightning. Bang! The lightning raged. The long saber in Zichen's hand was shattered. Endless lightning extended and landed on his body. With a roar, he was sent flying. He was shocked. He didn't expect the opponent's attack to be so powerful. Buzz! The lightning trembled. The ball of lightning continued to rush forward. It didn't have any offensive moves. It just charged forward. Zichen retreated. The ball of lightning was very strong. The previous attack had injured his soul. However, the ball of lightning was very fast. It was faster than his speed. Zichen simulated the 9 flashes of lightning. It was as fast as teleportation. He appeared in another place. Buzz! But in the next moment, a scene that shocked Zichen appeared. He saw that the speed of that ball of lightning was actually not the slightest bit slower than his. As soon as his figure appeared, the bolt of lightning appeared. Then, he disappeared, and so did the other party. This is the 9 lightning death. After repeating this several times, Zichen's face was filled with disbelief. Unexpectedly, the other party also knew the 9 passing thunderbolts and was using it at this moment. Could it be a senior from the Thunder Clan? Zichen was extremely shocked. For the latest novel updates, please visit the website. Chapter 2930. In everyone's eyes, Zichen stood there, motionless. Lightning flashed on his body, exuding a tyrannical aura. No one knew whether Zichen's condition was good or bad, so they stood in the distance and did not dare to go forward to check. At this moment, no one knew the shock in Zichen's heart. He actually saw the lightning ball using the 9 passing thunderbolts. It was the fastest speed in the world, and only the Thunder Clan could do it. Was this lightning ball related to the Thunder Clan? Whoosh! He slashed with the long saber in his hand again, and the golden saber light cut through the sky, carrying a powerful aura. Bang! The saber light missed its target. Zichen's figure shook, and his body flew out diagonally. The soul light on the surface of his body became dim at this moment. The lightning ball stood where he was before, and lightning surrounded his body. Too fast. He was extremely shocked as he flew out. At this moment, the lightning ball not only used the 9 passing thunderbolts, but also suppressed him in speed. The long saber in his hand slashed horizontally, and the saber light flashed across the sky. His soul power was constantly consumed, but he could not hit the lightning ball even once. On the contrary, Zichen was hit by the lightning ball again and again, and then flew back again and again. Flying back again, Zichen gritted his teeth fiercely. Buzz! A divine light appeared. It was the sky-piercing magic needle, which was completely simulated by the soul. It flew toward the lightning ball. Whoosh! The lightning disappeared, and the sky-piercing magic needle pierced through. It still missed. The lightning ball was getting faster and faster, even faster than the sky-piercing magic needle. Damn it, what the hell is this? Zichen cursed. The void trembled again, and the 8 saber ancestors' steelies appeared. In this soul world, this was still a simulated attack, and after it appeared, it formed the saber domain. In the domain, the pressure rose sharply, and the lightning ball slowed down slightly. Zichen entered the domain, holding the long saber in his hand. Boundless soul power was injected into the long saber as energy at this moment, and the saber light became stronger and stronger. The soul aura burst out. Buzz! Zichen drew his saber, and his spiritual light flickered. Then, 8 strands of saber intent fell from the saber ancestors steely floating in his domain. This move was the same as it was in the outside world. The only difference was that it was simulated using soul force. This was a soul attack. With a slash of the saber, boundless pressure was generated. The speed of the lightning ball was reduced again, and it was locked in place by the saber light. The ball of lightning no longer tried to escape and turned into a human form. However, it was very small, like a newborn baby. However, the aura on his body was incomparably tyrannical. He stood there as if he was the master of the world. With an indifferent expression, he stared at Zichen and said coldly, "You think you can destroy me?" The other party was very short, like a newborn baby. When he said such words with a serious face, the scene should be very funny and cute. However, Zichen did not feel this way. He felt an endless pressure in his heart. The other party punched. A small fist flickering with electric light landed on the saber. These 2 attacks did not match at all. Logically speaking, the saber light should not only crush this small fist but also cut the other party's body in half. However, the result was, boom. The saber light shattered, and the entire saber domain started to tremble. Horror appeared on Zichen's face. He did not expect the ball of light that turned into a human form to be so terrifying. Again. However, Xiao Chen was not weak, either. He had a perfect soul. In his spiritual world, the perfect soul was the true master. Another saber fell. At the same time, the heaven-connecting divine needle appeared and shot at the other party. When the 2 attacks were flying forward, Zichen's hands flashed with light. Yin-yang energy appeared. This was still not the true yin-yang energy. It was simulated by soul force. This was the master of the spiritual world. Here, he could simulate any external attack. The yin-yang energy merged and turned into a yin-yang thunder lotus. This should be one of Zichen's strongest attacks. Usually, such an attack could end a battle. The saber domain trembled, and the saber light shattered again. The small figure in front burst out with horrifying power. After destroying the saber light with a punch, he shattered the heaven-connecting divine needle with another punch. Go! At this moment, the yin-yang thunder lotus color turned extremely dark. It flew forward. After seeing the yin-yang thunder lotus, the lightning figure's indifferent expression turned slightly serious. However, he did not stop. He charged forward and punched. The lightning fist illuminated the surroundings and landed on the yin-yang thunder lotus. The thunder lotus, which was already unstable, exploded at this moment. The lightning figure was drowned in the energy of the explosion. Zichen's eyes were filled with indifference. This attack was already very powerful, and it was one of his most powerful attacks. His opponent did not dodge, and instead, charged forward recklessly. The most powerful attack of the thunder lotus would land on him. Amid the rumbling of the energy, a figure flew out. Seeing the lightning figure, Zichen's expression changed. He was very surprised. Not only did the other party not die, the light on the surface of his body only dimmed slightly. How is this possible? Just as Zichen was shocked, he saw the other party turn around and fly towards the barrier of the domain. When he reached the barrier, he clenched his fist and punched. Lightning flashed on the surface of his body, releasing a violent aura. This was a different kind of lightning. Zichen suspected that it came from outer space. Boom! When the punch landed, the barrier trembled and twisted violently. Boom! When the second punch landed, the 8 saber ancestors' steelies were shaken out. They trembled in the sky, creating ripples. Boom! When the third punch landed, the domain trembled violently and exploded. Even the saber ancestors' steelies that were manifested by the soul shattered. When the domain was forcibly shattered, Zichen's aura immediately weakened. The lightning figure turned around and his cold eyes fell on Zichen. The light on Zichen's body dimmed. He had used up a lot of his soul power. However, in the next moment, the golden light on his body shone again. His previously weakened aura became strong again. It was as if his previous consumption had been completely replenished at this moment. The lightning figure's cold eyes flickered. Without hesitation, his body flashed and he forcibly left Zichen's world. Phew! Zichen, whose body was glowing with a golden light, let out a heavy breath. That tiny lightning figure was too terrifying. In his spiritual world, he felt an immense pressure. After all, this was a place of life and death. It was best not to fight here. It was naturally better for the other party to leave to the outside world. Compared to fighting in the soul, Zichen was more suitable to fight in the outside world. He opened his eyes. The lightning figure appeared in front of him. However, at this moment, the other party was no longer in the form of a small figure. He was as tall as an 11 or 12-year-old boy. The lightning surging around his body was even more terrifying. Chapter 29:31. Hearing this, Zichen was a little surprised. He then smiled and said, "Coincidentally, this is also my strength." Golden light flickered under Zichen's feet, illuminating the surroundings as he took the initiative to attack. Suddenly, lightning flashed in front of his eyes. A fist followed the lightning and landed on Zichen's body. Boom! Boundless lightning exploded on Zichen's body, sending him flying backward. As he flew backward, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Zichen spat out blood and stopped a few hundred feet away. The others stood in the distance, not daring to come forward. They were also very surprised when they saw a light fly out of Zichen's body and turn into a young man. Immediately after, the young man sent Zichen flying and even injured him. Roy, Martin, and Lunky were very clear about Zichen's strength. Now that they saw Zichen being injured with a single punch, they were very shocked. Just how powerful was that young man who was emitting lightning? Drew and the others were also very shocked. However, they were not shocked by the young man's strength, but by his speed. In an instant, they would not have been able to dodge that speed at all. In terms of speed, do you think you're my match? The young man looked at Zi Chen with extreme contempt. Swish. His figure flashed, and the next time he appeared, he was already beside Zi Chen. At the same time, Zi Chen's figure disappeared. Immediately after, the young man disappeared again and reappeared behind Zi Chen. Zi Chen disappeared again, and when he reappeared, the young man was already standing behind him, striking out a powerful blow. With the sound of wind and thunder, Zi Chen disappeared again, and this blow missed. The young man snorted coldly and then disappeared. In the extreme speed competition, the young man's speed became faster and faster, while Zi Chen was clearly much slower. The spectators were very shocked because Zi Chen's speed was already very fast. They did not expect the young man to be even faster. Buzz. With such a clear gap, Zi Chen was about to be seriously injured by his opponent again. Suddenly, a strong light erupted from his body, and his speed suddenly increased. He directly appeared behind the young man. Boom! He punched out, and the lightning youth flew forward. At the same time, Zi Chen was also retreating. In that instant, a repulsive force came from the lightning youth. This force entered his body, and he felt his body begin to feel numb. One had to know that he was also a thunder martial artist, but he was actually paralyzed by the power of lightning. The lightning youth turned around and stared coldly at Zi Chen. Right now, Zi Chen had 12 heavenly thunder wings on his back. It was the appearance of the heavenly thunder wings that increased his speed once more. In normal battles, there was no need to use the heavenly thunder wings at all. Using this kind of extreme speed, he was the fastest in the world among those of the same level. The Thunderbolt teenager sized up Zi Chen and said with satisfaction, "Not bad. Other than the fact that his physical body is ridiculously weak, I am very satisfied with everything else." "You're the one." Shameless boasting. Zi Chen snorted coldly. His figure flickered as he unleashed the 9 passing thunderbolts. At the same time, he unsheathed the saber in his hand. This was the true 9 Extremes weapon, not something formed from the soul. No matter how strong the other party was, it was impossible for him to shatter it. Wang. The saber was unsheathed and slashed at the other party. With the heavenly thunder wings, his speed was faster than the other party, so he was not worried that this attack could not hit the target. Facing this flashing saber light, the lightning youth did not dodge. Instead, he punched out forcefully. The fist and the saber collided. With a loud bang, the saber in Zi Chen's hand did not shatter, but it flew out of his hand. At the same time, his body was also forcefully sent flying. How is this possible? Zi Chen was shocked. His all-out attack was actually neutralized by a single punch. In terms of physical body, I am the strongest in the world. The lightning youth said coldly and confidently, "So, you are very suitable for me." The lightning youth took a step forward. The void trembled violently, and the lightning fist broke through the air. Zi Chen crossed his arms in front of him. Divine light surrounded his body, and a powerful aura burst out. The divine light lit up the sky, and the strong light formed a defense. With a loud bang, the divine light disappeared. Zi Chen's body was sent flying again. The light on his high-grade armor immediately dimmed. "It's a high-grade armor." Exclamations came from afar. Drew and the others did not know how powerful Zi Chen was, so they could not judge the strength of the lightning youth through Zi Chen. But at this moment, the high-grade armor on Zi Chen's body was broken by a single punch, which was enough to prove the strength of the lightning youth. Zi Chen instantly switched between his real body and his doppelganger. He used the high-grade armor that the doppelganger had just obtained to form a defense. Otherwise, he would be injured by the punch again. After the attack, the doppelganger turned into his real body. The space around began to distort. 8 saber ancestor steles appeared, forming a saber domain. Seeing this domain, the lightning youth frowned and attacked the barrier. He did not like this domain. Swoosh! Zi Chen rushed forward and slashed down. 8 saber intents surrounded the saber and slashed down. The lightning youth clenched his fist and punched the air. He did not use any weapon, but his fist was more terrifying than any weapon in the world. Amidst the rumbling sound, the saber light shattered as expected, and Zichen was sent flying. Again, Zichen was not convinced. When he rushed forward again, light fell from above his head. It was the power of rules. The rules stabilized his body and slashed down. Lightning flashed on the lightning youth's body. A powerful aura was released, and the rules around him collapsed. Then, he punched again and shattered the saber. "My physical body is the strongest in the world," the lightning youth said coldly. His words were full of confidence. "The strongest? I don't believe it." Zichen's eyes were filled with madness. A black hole appeared in the sky. The black hole continued to expand and came down, shrouding the entire saber domain. The black hole was Zichen's world. It was his last trump card. Bringing people into his world naturally meant a life-and-death battle. It was either live or die. Those in the distance could only see the black hole that was constantly devouring. Other than that, they could not see anything. They looked at each other in dismay. As for going forward to investigate, they obviously did not have the guts. One had to know that the lightning youth's punch had broken the high-grade armor's defense. If they were to go forward, they would probably be killed with one punch. In the world, Zichen still did not withdraw the domain. The world rules could easily pass through the domain and fall on the lightning youth. "What is this place?" The lightning youth raised his head and looked around. There was confusion in his cold eyes. "I feel the same aura as you. It must be related to you, right?" "Very well, you don't have to tell me. I'll slowly find out after I refine you," the lightning youth said again. Zichen said coldly, "Is that so? What a coincidence. I've also taken a fancy to your physical body. My physical body is the strongest. You want to take it away?" The lightning youth sneered. He looked at the barrier around him and was about to attack. "Your physical body is not strong here." As Zichen's voice fell, the divine clone walked over from the other side. This time, he did not wear armor and walked straight into the domain. "You're courting death." The lightning youth smiled coldly and rushed forward. Even though his speed was affected, he was still faster than the divine clone. His fist struck the avatar, and the avatar's body trembled. Its flesh and bones were separated from its body, and it turned into dust before vanishing. A skeleton flickering with divine light appeared. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. Chapter 2932. Looking at the skeleton in front of him, the lightning youth's eyes flashed with surprise. The body is not strong, but the bones are extremely hard. Seeing this scene, Zichen's heart was filled with shock. How could the body of the deity's avatar not be strong? It was at least equivalent to a fifth-grade body. He didn't expect to be separated by the opponent's fist. Moreover, the body was directly turned into powder. If it were another fifth-grade body, this blow would have disappeared. Fortunately, the deity's avatar had the heavenly god's bone. Even if the energy was lost, it was hard enough to block the opponent's attack. This was also the main reason why Zichen chose to use the world. The people outside were all Protoss, and they were all divine generals. They were very sensitive to the aura of the Protoss. If they sensed the heavenly god's bone, the consequences would be unimaginable. He still understood the principle that an innocent man would be guilty because of his wealth. Therefore, he used the world to block everything and left everything to the avatar. In the face of such an existence, only the avatar could resist. However, Zichen still had to stand guard outside. After all, this was his world, and he was the absolute master here. Those who came were guests, so he naturally had to entertain them. Light fell from the sky, and those lights were rules. There were many different rules in each light, and these rules were all related to gravity. The domain scattered, and the saber ancestors steely disappeared. The rules fell on the lightning youth. These rules were derived from the perfect world over the years. Zichen didn't need to comprehend all of them. He was the master and could have absolute control. The rules fell on the youth, and the lightning on the surface of the youth's body became a little dimmer. A ripple of emotion appeared on his cold face. This was just the beginning, not the end. Light fell from the sky again, and there were rules in the light. This time, they affected speed. Many rules could affect speed, and all of them fell on the lightning youth. This was the hospitality of Zi-Chen, the master of the world. The deity's avatar, which had become the heavenly god's bone, moved. He rushed forward, and there was divine light on the surface of his body, but it was not strong. The lightning youth shouted loudly, and endless lightning surged from the surface of his body, trying to shake off these negative rules. However, it was useless. The support of a world's rules was not something that could be easily broken free from. However, the light on the surface of his body became bright at this moment. His fist met the incoming heavenly god's bone. Boom! A powerful shockwave spread out with the two of them at the center. The clone slid backward, and the earth trembled. The lightning youth also retreated, and his cold expression changed. The doppelganger charged forward again and threw out another punch. The heavenly god's bones were extremely sturdy, and his attacks were endless. Pang! The energy vibrated again, and this time, the lightning youth was sent flying. His physical body was indeed powerful. Even when facing the attack of the heavenly god's bone, his bones did not shatter. Zi-Chen watched silently from the side. After arriving in his world, this battle was as good as over. No matter how strong the other party was, it was impossible for them to break through his world. What's more, he still had a divine clone in his world. He was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he watched silently from the side. The other party kept saying that he wanted to refine him. Little did he know that in Zi-Chen's eyes, the other party's lightning was also very attractive to him. He also wanted to refine the other party to strengthen his body. Boom! The lightning youth was sent flying again. The light on his body became dimmer and dimmer, and the pressure he felt from the world's rules also became heavier and heavier. Die! Lightning continued to flash on his body as he released a powerful aura. He had used the 9-star steps. The rules wrapped around his body, and his speed was far from being able to keep up with the clone. The clone hit his face and sent him flying again. The lightning youth was sent flying, and his expression became colder and colder. Thunder God! He looked up to the sky and let out a loud roar. His right hand clenched into a fist, and the endless light of lightning lingered around it. A light shadow appeared behind him. The light shadow was very blurry, as if it was outlined by light. If one did not look carefully, they would not notice it. But when this blurry light shadow appeared, the lightning youth's aura suddenly erupted, and the rules that shrouded him exploded with a bang. Zi-Chen stood in the distance, and a touch of panic emerged in his heart. At this moment, the lightning energy in his body seemed to be out of control. It began to fear, or rather, it became agitated. Was it because of that illusory light shadow? Was he really the Thunder God? But my current power is equivalent to that of a divine general. Zi-Chen did not understand, and his heart was shocked. The lightning youth punched out, and the boundless shining fist light pierced through the surrounding space like sharp blades. Boom! There was an even more intense tremor. The earth cracked, and the mountains exploded. The world was trembling, and there were signs of destruction. The divine clone flew back thousands of feet. The heavenly god's bones in his body were not damaged, but his soul was shaken, and he fainted. After a powerful blow, the lightning youth's aura immediately became weak. He went from a powerful state to an extremely weak one. The illusory light shadow behind him disappeared. The fear in Zi-Chen's heart also disappeared, and then he walked forward. He could feel that the lightning youth's aura had become very unstable, and his soul seemed to dissipate at any time. He walked to the youth's side. The youth looked up at Zi-Chen and said bitterly, "You came too early. If you were a little later, you would have died." Zi-Chen did not understand what he meant. He saw the youth's aura dissipate. His body turned into a ball of lightning again. This time, although the ball of lightning was violent, it was not aggressive, and it flew toward Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen reached out, and the ball of lightning fell on his hand. It kept shrinking, and finally turned into a bolt of lightning. This bolt of lightning was very powerful, and its aura was different. It disappeared in his hand. The next moment, the bolt of lightning entered his body and entered his heart through his meridians. The moment the power entered his heart, It formed a powerful suction force. The power of his physical body immediately gathered toward his heart, and his aura instantly became weak. It was as if at this moment, all the power in his body was swallowed by his heart. The next moment, his heart began to beat, and new blood emerged and gathered in his body. The power of lightning surged in his blood. It was that special power, and a powerful aura erupted from his body. Boundless lightning appeared from within and filled his entire body. The power of lightning continued to wreak havoc, making him feel as if his body was being torn apart by lightning. He looked up to the sky and roared, letting out a painful cry. The divine clone, who had fainted, was awakened by his cry. He shook his skull, and the dim soul flame burned again. The attack just now had directly knocked him out. Chapter 29:33. Everyone stood in the distance, looking at the black hole in front of them. When their gazes met, they would look at each other. The battle had continued until now, and they did not know how it was going. They did not know if Zi Chen was suppressing that young man. At this moment, Drew and the others no longer had any doubts about Zi Chen's combat strength. That young man was really terrifying. Zi Chen had proven that he was extraordinary by being able to fight alone until now. Roy frowned. He did not expect to encounter such a terrifying existence in such an ordinary place. Among everyone present, only Zi Chen had the ability to fight against such an existence. If Zi Chen had not come today, everyone would have died. Martin and Lunky were very anxious. The two of them had seen Zi Chen's strength and had always wanted to rope him into the Legion. Not only Zi Chen, but Zi Chen's friends were also not weak. If everyone could join the team, the Legion's combat strength would increase greatly. The two of them did not want anything to happen to Zi Chen. After waiting anxiously for a while, the black light in front of them disappeared, and Zi Chen appeared from it. He stood there, his aura fluctuating between strong and weak. His face was pale, and his vitality seemed to be severely damaged. "Are you okay?" Roy walked forward. "I'm fine." Zi Chen shook his head. "You don't look fine." Roy came closer and looked him up and down. Zi Chen smiled. Roy was the first to come forward, obviously worried that the others would be disadvantageous to him in this state. Martin and Lunky came forward. Zi Chen's aura was indeed very weak, but there was an indescribable horror to it. Drew and the others did not come forward and continued to stand in the distance. They were shocked by Zi Chen's strength, but at the same time, they were very depressed. They came here with nothing and lost 5 people for no reason. It should be known that these 5 people were all 5th grade. In addition, the Legion's assessment was very strict. They did not know how long it would take to recruit them. This loss was too great. The battle was over, and there were no more opportunities here. Naturally, everyone would disperse. Martin looked at Zi Chen and asked, "Zi Chen, what do you plan to do next?" Zi Chen said, "Let's go back to the city first. Everyone is still waiting for me. I have to tell them that I'm safe." Martin nodded, but in the end, he didn't say what he wanted to say. Then Martin looked at Roy and said, "Roy, you." Before Martin could finish, Roy smiled and said, "Zi Chen doesn't look well. I'll send him back first." Martin was slightly startled, but he did not refuse and nodded. Lunky, on the other hand, let out a sigh of regret. It seemed that this time, not only did Zi Chen harbor a grudge, but even Roy's impression of the army had plummeted. Martin had done something bad with good intentions. Big brother Martin, this is the reward. Big brother Martin deserves it. Zi Chen took out more than 200 heavenly beast inner cores and held them in his palm with his spatial manipulation, handing them over to Martin. Martin immediately shook his head and said, "Brother Zi Chen, you're treating us as outsiders." Behind him, Drew and the others did not speak, but their eyes flickered. Zi Chen smiled and said, "Big brother Martin, don't refuse. I appreciate your kindness, but we can't let everyone come here for nothing, right? As members of the army, these people naturally had to report to the army when they came out. This time, 5 people had died, and Martin had to report this matter when he returned. Regardless of whether they deserved it or not, if this time they came back empty-handed, Martin and Lunky would not be able to explain themselves when they returned. He had kept the heavenly beast bones for Martin, but unfortunately, they had all disappeared. He could only take out about 1/5 of the heavenly beast cores to give to the two. Martin naturally did not want to accept them, and Lunky was also determined not to accept them. Big brothers, please accept them. I still have a lot here. In the end, the two accepted the resources. Seeing the two accept the resources, Zichen said, Big brothers, when you're free, you can come to Baylor City to find me. Sure. The two nodded and left. Drew and the others left with the two of them. Only Zichen and Luo Yi were left here. Zichen's hand flashed, and more than 400 heavenly beast cores appeared. He sealed them together with a divine power and said, These are yours. Luo Yi smiled and said, I don't need so many. With that, he stretched out his hand and gently drew a line in front of him. After drawing about half of the heavenly beast cores, he put them away. Zichen did not insist on giving more. He had a lot of people, so naturally, he needed more resources. Are you really okay? Luo Yi looked at Zichen's state and frowned slightly. Don't worry. I can fight again. The two walked out. The most important thing here was obviously that stone. After the stone disappeared, these layers of separated areas became a whole and integrated into this world. There were no more opportunities here. When the two walked out, Martin and the others had already disappeared. This is a good harvest. It's enough to cultivate for a while. Luo Yi looked ahead and said, This kind of cultivation life is still the most desirable. Why did you suddenly not want to join? Zichen turned to look at Luo Yi. Martin clearly told you that you passed the test. Why did you refuse? Zichen could guess what Martin wanted to say. Lunky's sigh could also explain this point. Luo Yi clearly knew it too. Luo Yi said, It's boring. I feel that freedom is better. Of course, I can't deny that I was disgusted by that guy. I'm worried that if I really joined the army and met people like him, how bad would that be? Also, after joining the army, it seems that it will be very troublesome to leave. That's true. Zichen nodded. Do you want people in your team? Why don't you let me join your team? Luo Yi suddenly turned to look at Zichen. Zichen laughed and said, We don't hunt tier 5 heavenly beasts. Furthermore, if you really want to join, it's not a problem. Previously, Zichen had indeed not thought of bringing everyone to hunt tier 5 heavenly beasts. However, this time, he had obtained hundreds of heavenly beast inner cores. He believed that it would be enough to raise everyone's physical bodies to tier 5. If he wanted to continue growing, he would have to consider this problem. He had seen Luo Yi's battle prowess. If Luo Yi really wanted to join, he would be more than happy to. Then it's settled. Do I need to take the test? Luo Yi asked with a smile. If you can send me back safely, I'll count it as you passing the test. As Zichen spoke, a powerful aura suddenly burst forth from his body. Bolts of lightning surged out from his body. Luo Yi immediately moved away, retreating far away. The lightning around Zichen's body flashed, and when it disappeared, his aura seemed to have weakened. Are you really all right? Luo Yi stared at him and asked. From the looks of it, there shouldn't be any major problems. After the lightning energy entered his heart, Zichen's blood and qi started to flow out, absorbed by the lightning energy. At the same time, the lightning energy also flowed through his heart and into his body. This was also the reason why Zichen's aura was fluctuating between strong and weak. The energy that was being sent back was very small, but it was a new type of lightning energy, of high quality and extremely powerful. From the looks of it, it was as if he was about to be reborn. The two of them headed straight for Baylor City, and along the way they did not meet a single tier 5 heavenly beast. Chapter 29:34. Zichen's face was still pale, and he looked very weak. He stood there motionless. Roy stood beside him and looked ahead, his expression slowly turning solemn. Buzz! With a light tremble, the ground lit up like a sharp blade piercing through the air. The surrounding space rippled as a divine formation formed, enveloping the surroundings and trapping the two of them. The two of them looked at each other. Clearly, they had encountered an ambush. Clang! 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 Light fell from the sky, turning into divine spears that pierced through the sky and flew toward the two of them with sharp whistling sounds. Roy stepped forward with a cold expression. The divine light in his body formed a defense that expanded and enveloped Zichen. The divine spears landed on the defense, causing even more ripples. Puff, 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 puff. Who could it be? Roy looked around through the light barrier but could not see anything except the divine spears. Zichen shook his head. We'll know after we fight. That's right. We'll know after we fight. Roy laughed loudly, and the divine aura surging from his body soared once more. The light barrier around him began to expand, becoming larger and larger. The divine spears falling from the sky were squeezed into less and less space. With a loud bang, the light barrier shattered, and the divine energy contained in it scattered in all directions. Everywhere it passed, the divine spears exploded. Specks of divine light fell like thousands of raindrops, and the divine spears and light barrier disappeared at the same time. This level of formation can't do anything to us. Show yourself, Roy said indifferently. Roy said indifferently, the mid-grade armor on his body releasing a strong light. There was no response from the surroundings. A tremor came from the sky, and thousands of divine spears appeared again. When these divine spears appeared, they were all fixed in the air and did not fall. The next moment, the divine spears fused together, and divine light shot out in all directions, finally turning into a single divine spear. When this fused divine spear appeared, a terrifying aura swept through the divine formation, and divine light illuminated the entire divine formation. Buzz! With a soft tremor, ripples appeared in the surroundings as the divine spear fell. A hurricane emerged from the divine formation, and the entire divine formation began to tremble. The divine spear tore through the sky and fell. Roy thrust his sword forward, and sword light soared into the sky. A rumbling sound reverberated throughout the world as a powerful wave of energy spread out in all directions. Luo Yi landed beside Zichen, and the divine light on his body was still strong. In the sky, the terrifying divine spear exploded. Zichen looked at Roy. With Roy's powerful combat strength, he must be in existence on the ranking of generals in the entire god realm. He might even be ranked very high. His combat strength is indeed not weak. A cold voice sounded, and a person appeared in the air. That person was wearing armor with a blood scorpion pattern on it. Blood scorpion core, rank 6. Seeing this, Roy's expression changed slightly, but he remained indifferent. That person said indifferently, "You're right, but you forgot to mention that the armor is of high quality." Luo Yi's expression turned ugly. As a 5th rank, he was confident that he could fight a 6th rank fighter. However, if a 6th rank fighter had a high-grade armor, it would be difficult for him to deal with him. Seeing Luo Yi's ugly expression, the 6th rank fighter from the Blood Scorpion Corps laughed. "You feel troubled just because of this." Another wave of fluctuation appeared behind Roy and Zichen. It was also an existence with a 6th grade physical body. The other party's armor was also a high-grade armor. Zichen turned to look at him and said indifferently, "I believe that this is not a coincidence, right? What do you think?" The 6th rank fighter said. "Do you think you can kill our people so casually?" Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately after that, a few more people appeared. They were all 5th rank fighters, and there were 6 of them in total. He wondered if the Divine Formation Master was among them. "What should I do?" Luo Yi frowned. He did not care about these 5th rank fighters, but a 6th rank fighter with a high-grade armor would be troublesome. "I'll give you a high-grade armor," Zichen said with a smile. At this moment, his face was pale and he looked very weak. Shameless boasting. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the 6th rank fighter in front of him as he charged forward. In mid-air, his figure stopped. A long spear appeared out of thin air, blocking in front of him. The divine avatar walked out of the darkness and swept the spear. The avatar was also wearing a high-grade armor. At this moment, the aura it emitted was very powerful. "I'll leave the 5th rank fighters to you." After the avatar faced one of them, Zichen's real body turned and flew toward the other. At this moment, he looked very weak because most of his chi and blood had been lost. However, he was not weak at all. On the contrary, the new power gathered in his body was very powerful. He rushed toward a 6th-rank fighter and began to mobilize the power in his body. He was mobilizing pure physical power. A bolt of lightning appeared on the surface of his body, emitting a dazzling silver light and surging with a violent aura. In the past, because he had a perfect body, the power of his body was golden. However, after the special lightning power entered his body, his power turned silver. However, this silver lightning power was much more terrifying than the golden one from before. Zi Chen came in front of the 6th-rank fighter and clenched his fist. Silver light shot out in all directions, illuminating the surroundings. The 6th-rank fighter snorted coldly and clenched his fist to attack. The patterns on the high-grade armor lit up, providing him with extremely powerful strength. When the two strikes collided, a boom sounded from the divine array. Powerful fluctuations scattered in all directions as the entire divine array began to distort. The 6th-rank powerhouse in the high-grade armor was sent flying backward. As he flew backward, the defensive light on his body flickered and distorted crazily before shattering with a crack. A single punch broke through his defense. After the strike, Zi Chen looked increasingly weak, but his eyes were extremely bright as he became even more excited. This new power was clearly more terrifying than the power condensed from the perfect body. After all, the power of the perfect body came from a page of the heavenly book. It was already the highest level of power in the world, but this lightning power was even more terrifying than the heavenly book's power. Could this power really be from beyond the heavens? With such doubts in mind, Zi Chen continued charging forward. As he charged forward, 9 flashes of lightning reappeared. He arrived beside the 6th-rank fighter at a speed as though he had teleported. The special lightning flashed as he punched the other party in the chest. Boom! Silver light shot out in all directions, carrying boundless power as it entered his body through the armor. The high-grade armor caved in as the crisp sound of bones shattering constantly sounded. The 6th-rank divine general was sent flying backward. Fart! As he flew backward, he coughed out blood. His aura became dispirited until it completely disappeared. Another punch to destroy the enemy. A powerful 6th-rank fighter was killed by Zi Chen's 2 punches just like that. When the other saw this scene, his face revealed a look of horror as he wanted to escape. Bang! A spear arrived and struck him in the chest, sending him flying. He happened to be flying in the direction of his true body. To read the latest novel without error, please visit Chapter 2935. Sensing this, the Grade 6 Divine General's face was full of fear. The divine light on his body twisted wildly, and his high-grade armor was pushed to the limit. Zi Chen appeared in front of him in a flash and punched his body. With a boom, the light of thunder exploded on his chest. The Grade 6 Divine General's body fell to the ground, and the defense on his body shattered as expected. After breaking the defense with one punch, Lu Cheng's real body did not continue to attack. He looked at his opponent in the air. The clone turned into a divine light and went straight for the Grade 6 Divine General like a falling meteor. Poof! The divine spear pierced the Grade 6 Divine General's throat. The divine light surged into his body and destroyed his vitality. The battle was over. On the other side, the battle between Luo Yi and the Grade 5 Divine General was coming to an end. The Grade 5 Divine General died one after another. The clone waved his hand and collected the Grade 6 Divine General's corpse. When he looked up, Luo Yi had killed the last one. Impressive. Looks like you've gained a lot, Luo Yi said in surprise as he looked at the increasingly weak Zi Chen. Zi Chen smiled bitterly. I've used up all the strength I've accumulated over the past few days with just 3 punches. I'm really weak now. Luo Yi said, that's still very strong. Did you have such a technique before? Zi Chen thought for a moment and said, that's true. Although Zi Chen's physical strength was abundant, it was definitely not enough to kill a Grade 6 Divine General easily. Now that he had defeated 2 Grade 6 Divine General with just 3 punches, it was obvious that his strength was extraordinary. Moreover, Zi Chen's physical realm was only Grade 5, not Grade 6. Looks like there are still enemies that haven't been destroyed. Luo Yi looked up at the divine formation that was still there. His expression gradually turned cold. His sword pierced through the air, and the sword aura cut through the sky. The divine formation was split into two without any resistance. Looks like they ran away when things went south, Zichen said. That's true. The two continued on their way. Zichen's real body turned into a clone, and his real body returned to the world to recover. He could no longer use his physical technique from before. His body could not condense new strength. Therefore, he took out a grade 5 inner core and refined it, turning it into physical strength. As soon as the Niden transformed into physical strength, it was absorbed by the heart. At this moment, his heart seemed to have become a bottomless pit. Zichen opened his eyes and asked Shadowless for help. Shadowless shook his head. I've never encountered a situation like yours, so I can't help you. However, since it can devour energy and give back energy, why don't you refine more inner cores? That way, the more energy you absorb, the more energy you get back. Zichen nodded. It seemed that this was the only way. This kind of power, could it be the power of thunder from outer space? Zichen asked after a moment of hesitation. Shadowless shook his head. I don't think so. The power from beyond the heavens can't exist in this world. Zichen said again, all of this was caused by the power of thunder in my heart. Is it possible that after that power disappears, my power will return to its original golden color? That's possible, Shadowless said. When Zichen heard this, his expression turned ugly. If that was really the case, then it would be a pity. This was a power that was even stronger than a perfect body. How good would it be if it was permanent? The Avatar followed Roy in the outside world. Midway, Roy asked, could this be a coincidence? The Avatar said, of course not. Then who could it be? Roy frowned. Even if the Blood Scorpion army knows about this, it's absolutely impossible for them to set up an array to block our path. The Avatar's expression turned cold. Roy frowned and said, could it be Martin? Martin and Lunky know that we're returning to Bela City, but the others were there at that time. I believe they heard it. In that case, it's those disgusting fellows. They're already dead. There's no proof. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Thankfully, I didn't join the army. Otherwise, I would really be disgusted. The Avatar smiled. With a flash of light in his hand, a set of high-grade armor appeared. My true body promised to give it to you. Roy was taken aback as he said, are you serious? The Avatar said with a smile, my true body said that you've already passed the test. As a reward for joining the team, this high-grade armor is yours. Hearing this, Roy laughed loudly. He took it without hesitation and said, a high-grade armor for joining the team. This is really a good thing. It seems that it was wise of me not to join the First Army. After that, the two of them didn't encounter any more danger and returned directly to Bela City. In the inn, Zichen saw everyone. After seeing Zichen, everyone was very happy. However, when they saw Roy, who Zichen brought back, they were slightly stunned. This is Roy. Zichen introduced. From now on, he'll be a member of our team. After that, Zichen introduced everyone to Roy. After hearing Yi Chen's name, Roy's expression changed. Just as he was about to say something, he was interrupted by a voice. Roy, right? You've joined our team. How's your combat strength? Do you want to spar a little? The monk came forward. My combat strength is okay, Roy said modestly. Zichen, who was at the side, said, you'd better not look for trouble. Luo Yi has a high-grade armor. High-grade armor? When everyone heard this, their expressions changed slightly. They were very surprised. The monk's eyes lit up, and he said, high-grade armor? That's very powerful. Roy, how about this? Let's make a bet. The bet is a piece of high-grade armor. If you can break my defense without armor with a full-strength attack, I'll give you a high-grade armor. If you can't break my defense, then give me one. Roy was stunned. Facing the monk's enthusiastic bet, he was at a loss. Zichen laughed and scolded, you bald thief, you're really greedy. He then said to Roy, don't bet with him. He doesn't have a high-grade armor. He's just trying to cheat you of your armor. You have to be careful of this guy. He wants to cheat all the good things. Roy was shocked. Although Zichen was reminding him, he obviously didn't think highly of his combat strength. If his full-strength attack couldn't break the opponent's defense without armor, then how strong was his defense? Roy was very surprised, but he didn't show it on his face. He smiled and said he wouldn't bet. The monk was very sorry about this. Su Mengyaro asked Zichen what he had encountered this time and whether it was dangerous. Zichen briefly explained what had happened. When everyone heard about the prehistoric site, they were very surprised. After that, Zichen took out the inner cores he had obtained and distributed some to everyone, indicating that they should refine them as soon as possible. When everyone reached 5th grade, they would go out to hunt heavenly beasts together. Zichen didn't look weak anymore, but the lightning power accumulated in his body wasn't much. He could clearly feel that the devouring power of his heart had weakened, and the lightning power feedback had decreased by a lot. Chapter 2936. This time, he had gained quite a lot from following Martin. Hundreds of heavenly beast inner cores and that strange lightning power were all great opportunities. However, after returning, Zichen was not happy at all. This was because the power that was stronger than the perfect body was not permanent and could disappear at any time. It was like giving people hope and then making them feel despair. Although Zichen was far from despair, he was not happy either. There was a power that was stronger than the power cultivated by the heavenly book in this world. This was a shocking thing. He had already obtained it, but it could not be eternal. Kang Mo was no longer blindly refining tools. Zichen let him out and let him walk around the city with everyone to relax a little. Half a month passed like this. The devil ape was the first to reach the 5th stage, and its combat strength became even stronger. In the following time, Longhu Sovereign and the others who had strong physical bodies broke through one after another. Zichen had obtained hundreds of inner cores this time, so he did not plan to hunt 5th stage heavenly beasts for the time being. Most importantly, there were almost no 5th stage heavenly beasts in the periphery. If he wanted to hunt, he would have to go deeper, where it was much more dangerous. A few days later, Martin and Lun Ku came again. After seeing the two of them, Zichen was very surprised and welcomed them. At the same time, Martin and Lun Ku also saw the others. After sensing the powerful aura of these people, he was even more shocked. The Legion was currently lacking people. If these people could join, it would be beneficial for the Legion. I didn't expect that after not seeing each other for a few years, everyone's strength would have grown to this extent. Martin nodded at everyone. Among these people, only 3 were from the God Clan. The others' auras were obviously different from the God Clan, and their power was not the God Clan's power. Martin thought for a moment and said, Zichen, are you willing to join our Legion? Zichen smiled and did not say anything. Martin said again, there are only benefits to joining the Legion. Our Legion has specialized refiners who can customize battle armor. With your combat strength, after joining the Legion, it won't be long before you can accumulate enough contribution points to exchange for a tailor-made slot. When that time comes, your combat strength will be even stronger. If it's just a tailor-made battle armor, I can do it. Why should I join the Legion? Kang Mo, who came in from outside, said after hearing Martin's words. Martin was startled upon hearing this. He looked at the young Kang Mo and sensed his native aura. He said, young friend, you know how to tailor armors? Kang Mo asked, is it very difficult? Martin was filled with emotion when he heard this. Just as he was about to say something, Roy said, Martin, you'd better not talk about joining the army anymore. It's impossible for Zichen to go. Last time, Zichen and I were ambushed on our way back. Ambush? Martin raised his head and looked at Zichen. Lunky, who had been silent all this while, also changed his expression. Zichen said, it's the Blood Scorpion Corps. 2 rank 6 and several rank 5s set up a formation on our way back and ambushed the 2 of us. Zichen had killed many of the Blood Scorpion Legion's members. If the 2 sides were to face each other head-on, it would not be a big deal. However, being ambushed midway was clearly abnormal. Because no one knew where they were going, how could they set up a formation midway? Martin also sensed the seriousness of the matter. His expression immediately turned ugly. He said in a low voice, after returning to the Legion, I will definitely report this matter to the Lord and thoroughly investigate this matter. Lunky looked extremely embarrassed. Obviously, he did not expect such a thing to happen. At that time, Zi Chen was in a very bad state. Even when faced with the ambush of 2 rank 6, he was still intact. This showed that he was extraordinary. This time, besides catching up, there's actually one more thing I want to tell you. What is it? Zi Chen looked at Martin. Our legion found a bigger ruin in the depths. It's just that it's too dangerous, so we suffered great losses. Martin said, this is also the reason why I'm in such a hurry to recruit people. As a result, we didn't do a proper investigation and allowed people like Thoughtless Sai to sneak in. These days, as the legion went deeper and deeper into the ruins, we suffered more and more losses. The secret of the large-scale ruin could not be kept. Therefore, the legion decided to disclose this secret. Zi Chen was very surprised to hear this. Last time, when he saw those injured heavenly pythons running out from the depths, he felt that something must have happened. Now, it seemed that everything was caused by the Divine Legion. The eyes of Tyrant and the others lit up. Zi Chen had only gone to a small ruin and obtained hundreds of inner cores. What about the large-scale ruin this time? They were very excited and eager to try. Martin said, although we've decided to disclose it, there is a prerequisite. That is, if people who are not part of the Legion enter, each person will have to pay 4 inner cores of heavenly beasts. If people from the Legion enter, they won't have to pay a single coin. Zi Chen had more than 20 people with him. If all of them entered, they would have to pay nearly 100 inner cores of heavenly beasts. This was a huge number. In this area, it was very rare for an individual to be able to pay that much. Obviously, Martin was being kind. Zi Chen was also very clear about the value of inner cores. If he hadn't found this ruin, he would only have a few inner cores. How would he be able to take out nearly 100 inner cores? Everyone was already tempted. Zi Chen had also tasted the sweetness of the ruin, so he naturally wanted to explore it again. Thus, he asked, is it open to everyone? Yes, even the members of the Blood Scorpion Legion who are not on good terms with us. Martin nodded. But if that's the case, what if someone uses spatial techniques to gather a group of people together? Zi Chen asked again. The others chuckled when they heard this. Obviously, they understood Zi Chen's real meaning. Martin said, that ruin is a little special. It's isolated from all special spaces. It's almost impossible to bring people in like this. Seeing that Zi Chen was still skeptical, Martin said, you'll know when the time comes. Of course, if you can really bring people in like this, it's your own good fortune. The Legion won't stop you. This was Martin's main reason for coming here. At the same time, he also wanted to recruit Zi Chen. Alas, Zi Chen still didn't agree. After staying here for a day, Martin and Lunky said their goodbyes and left. What do you all think? Zi Chen looked at the crowd. What can we think about this? Of course we should leave as soon as possible. If we're late, the good stuff will be gone. Monk said anxiously. Zi Chen ignored Monk and looked at the others. Chapter 29:37. There were still many people in the team who hadn't reached rank 5. Although their combat strength wasn't weak, having a rank 5 body meant that they were stronger. Su Mengyao's suggestion was for the sake of the big picture. Monk was anxious because he was still some distance away from rank 5. Zi Chen pondered for a while. There was strength in numbers, but it also meant greater danger. The God's mercenary army was known as the top army in this area. Naturally, they were very powerful. Even they suffered great losses. One could imagine how dangerous the ruins were. Zi Chen thought for a while and said, Monk, Monster Ape, Zhong Haotian, and Luo Yi will follow me. The rest will stay. The anxious monk heaved a sigh of relief. Monster Ape didn't say anything. He would do whatever Zi Chen said. Longhu and the others had also reached rank 5. Hearing that Zi Chen wouldn't take them with him, they couldn't help but feel regretful. But they didn't have any objections. They had been together for a long time. They knew that Zi Chen's every decision was for the team. Sir, I'm not going either. Kang Mo asked doubtfully. I might not be able to open my space when we get there, Zi Chen said. You stay and continue to improve yourself. Kang Mo nodded to show that he understood. Zi Chen's space was a perfect world. Monk and the others couldn't open their worlds here. Only Zichen could. This was his uniqueness. But Martin's words reminded Zichen that although his world was special, it wasn't uncontrollable. For safety's sake, he only brought a few people with him. Monk's body hadn't reached rank 5, but he had absolute defense. In times of danger, he would be the biggest meat shield in the team. Zhong Haotian was good at assassination. There was no harm in bringing him along. Monster Ape had reached rank 5 and was very powerful. Of course, he would bring him along. In fact, Longhu and the others wouldn't be a problem. But no one dared to guarantee the safety of this world. So, they were left to protect the others. As for Luo Yi, he naturally had to follow. Keep these things. They should last until we come back. After Zichen left behind some Nidans, he took out the other hundreds of Nidans and handed them over to Su Mengyao. At the same time, he took out a divine ring and handed it to Kang Mo, saying, "Take these things. If it's not enough, ask for more from big sister Mengyao." Kang Mo took the divine ring and nodded continuously. "I don't know when I'll be back after leaving this time. I have some inner cores with me, I'll leave them for everyone." Luo Yi took out his inner core and gave it to Su Mengyao. Su Mengyao hesitated and looked at Zichen. Zichen nodded, so she accepted it. In addition, Zichen also had a set of upper-tier armor, but it was damaged, so he also left it behind. In just 2 days, news of the large-scale ruins had spread throughout the city. When everyone heard that each person would have to pay 4 heavenly beast cores, their high spirits immediately turned to disappointment. For those below level 5, wanting to obtain so many heavenly beast inner cores was simply unrealistic. Even a level 5 heavenly beast inner cores might not be able to obtain so many heavenly beast inner cores, and those who were able to obtain them were mostly from powerful factions. Another 2 days passed. Zichen received a message from Martin, so he took action. A group of people sent them out of the city, and Zichen followed the route that Martin had previously left behind and headed deeper into the ruins. "I hope that this time, we'll have a great harvest." Along the way, Monk seemed very excited. He did not expect to come here with such a great opportunity. No one could remain calm, especially Zichen. The power in his heart had decreased a lot, so he wanted to go deeper and try his luck. Even if he could not obtain this power for a long time, it would be good if he could obtain a few more. Following the route, they went straight into the depths. 3 days later, they met many people who were on the same path. Along the way, they encountered some heavenly beasts, which were easily killed. When they arrived at the destination that Martin had mentioned, Zichen saw many powerhouses gathered here. Although the entry qualification of 4 heavenly beast inner cores per person made many people turn away, there were still many people who came. It seemed that all those above level 5 in this area who could afford 4 heavenly beast inner cores had all come here. As soon as they arrived, Zichen saw Martin. The latter also noticed Zichen and flew over. "Just the 2 of you?" Martin asked in surprise when he saw Zichen and Luo Yi. Zichen smiled. Martin understood what he meant and smiled. "Good luck." 3 people meant 12 heavenly beast inner cores. They should save as much as possible. "I've already reported what you said last time to the Legion. The Legion is also investigating this matter, but they haven't found any evidence yet," Martin said in a low voice. "At that time, Lunky, Drew, and I knew about it. After we go in, we must be careful of them." "Okay." Zichen nodded. At this moment, Zichen saw Drew standing in the crowd. Drew also saw him. Separated by the sparse crowd, Drew nodded lightly at Zichen. Zichen nodded in response. Their eyes met. At the same time, Zichen felt a murderous intent on him from another direction. He looked around and saw the Blood Scorpion Legion. Everyone he saw that day was dead. No one should know about the grudge between him and the Blood Scorpion Legion. This murderous intent was a little inexplicable. Zichen's gaze fell back on Drew. If someone had purposely sent a message to him, then this murderous intent was normal. His expression became colder and more cautious. After entering, he would have to face the Blood Scorpion Legion's murderous intent, regardless of whether there was an opportunity or not. But he was not afraid. This was because his body was filled with power. This power was enough to last a long battle. Similarly, as long as the world could still be opened, he had nothing to fear. At this moment, a powerful aura appeared. It was emitted by a person. He was wearing shining armor. As soon as he appeared, the noisy surroundings immediately became quiet. One could even hear a pin drop. Everyone's eyes fell on him with different expressions. Some were shocked, some were surprised, some were excited, some were worshipping, some were in awe, and some were fanatical. Martin, who was standing beside Zi Chen, also looked at that person. His expression became respectful, and his eyes were filled with worship. He was the commander of the mercenaries of God, known as the strongest person in the world. Wei Li. Wherever he stood, he would be the center of attention. After a brief silence, there were loud cries of surprise. "It's Lord Wei Li, the strongest person in this region. I didn't expect even Lord Wei Li to come." Everyone was at rank 9. Logically speaking, they should not be so excited. Wei Li. Hearing this name, Luo Yi was startled and extremely surprised. "You know him?" Zi Chen asked. He was first on the ranking of generals back then. He dominated the ranking of generals for tens of thousands of years before disappearing from it. Back then, everyone thought that he had advanced to become a god king. "I didn't expect him to come here," Luo Yi said. First on the ranking of generals? This was an extremely familiar term. Before coming here, Zi Chen was also first on the ranking of generals. If you don't break through, your ranking will disappear from the ranking of generals? I'm not sure. Wei Li's gaze swept across the crowd. He gently raised his hand, and the surrounding cries of surprise disappeared. The surroundings became quiet once more. "Everyone, the ruins are filled with danger. Once you enter, you must be careful. The enemy is very strong. Do not fight among yourselves. Otherwise, your losses will only be greater." Everyone respectfully cupped their fists and bowed to Wei Li. "All right, everyone, follow me to the entrance of the ruins." Wei Li waved his hand. A divine light descended, and a massive teleportation array appeared on the ground. Chapter 2938. The teleportation formation lit up and Wei Li's figure disappeared. "It's Lord Wei Li. I didn't expect him to come personally." Martin was very excited. "The armor he's wearing doesn't seem to be top grade," Zi Chen said as he looked at the shining teleportation formation. "It's a custom-made armor that can greatly stimulate Lord Wei's combat power." Martin said in shock, "It seems that this trip to the ruins is definitely not ordinary." Zi Chen asked in surprise, "He doesn't usually show himself." "I've been in the mercenaries of God for more than 10,000 years and I've only seen Lord Wei Li twice. It's said that Lord Wei Li already has a 9th grade physical body and is trying to break through to the Divine King realm. He doesn't usually show himself." While Martin was speaking, more powerful auras appeared in the field. Each of these auras made Zi Chen feel a strong sense of threat. With the appearance of these people, there were exclamations all around. Obviously, these people were not to be trifled with. Almost all of them were experts from certain forces. Among them was the commander of the Blood Scorpion Legion. These experts' auras were very powerful. Every one of them was wearing custom-made armor. When Zi Chen entered this area, he thought that as the number 1 on the ranking of generals, he would be the strongest in this world and could sweep away everything. After seeing the 5-headed sky python, he knew how laughable this idea was. Today, he truly sensed the difference between the 9 grades. At the same time, he also knew that he was not the only number 1 on the ranking of generals in this world. His advantages were nothing in front of these powerhouses. Those powerful beings entered the teleportation formation one after another. After that, the surrounding crowd entered as well. The brilliance of the divine formation kept flashing and a large number of divine generals disappeared. "Let's go too." Lunky waved at them from afar. Martin turned to look at Zi Chen and said. Zi Chen nodded and put away his complicated emotions. The 3 of them flew forward. They entered the teleportation formation and disappeared. When they reappeared, they were on a plane. There was an open passage in front of them. The space around the passage was still distorted and was not stable. The lords who had come previously were gone. Outside the passage, there were several members of the mercenaries of God. They were guarding outside the passage and specialized in collecting inner cores. Zichen, let's go in together, Martin said to Zichen. All right. After Zichen agreed, Martin walked towards the mercenaries of God. At this moment, some people had already started to hand over their inner cores. After the people outside the passage checked their inner cores, they would be let in. Zichen and Luo Yi watched from afar. Several rank 5 existences walked in. During this period of time, when one person disappeared, several rays of light flew out from his body. Those rays of light landed outside the tunnel and turned into human figures. Everyone was stunned when they saw the sudden appearance of these people. Those few people were also stunned. Soon after, they understood something and their expressions became extremely dejected. Are we still going in? Beside them, a member of the mercenaries of God asked indifferently. The few of them took out their inner cores and returned them to the other party before walking in. Discussions broke out all around. Zichen noticed that many people's expressions had changed. There were definitely many people who had used this method. Everyone, give up as soon as possible. This world isolates all space. The divine general in charge of collecting the Nidans said indifferently. Dejected sighs came from all around. During this period of time, people continued to enter. But every moment, someone would turn into light and appear. After some people appeared, they would take out their inner cores and enter. Others would leave in disappointment. Everyone had to hand over 4 inner cores. This was not a small number. So far, no one had forcefully broken through. How about it? Luo Yi looked at Zichen beside him. Let's try. Zichen said hesitantly. His world was obviously different from space. He still had some confidence in himself. At the same time, those who entered were obviously confident in their own space. Light flashed, and another 3 people were left behind. After the 3 of them appeared, they cursed angrily and left unwillingly. According to the 3 of them, the 4 inner cores were gathered by the 4 of them. Now, the 3 of them were eliminated. Similar things continued to happen. Many people were eliminated, but no one knew whether or not anyone succeeded. For rank 6 inner cores. At this time, a rank 6 was about to enter but was stopped by the other party. He did not take the 4 rank 5 inner cores from the rank 6. For rank 6 inner cores. Why don't you rob them? Hearing this, the rank 6 face immediately showed anger. We, the mercenaries of God, do not force anyone. Everything is voluntary. If you want to enter, you have to take out 4 inner cores of the same level. What about rank 7? 4 rank 7 inner cores for rank 7. Are you crazy? You want rank 8 to take out 4 rank 8 inner cores? Rank 9 to take out 4 rank 9 inner cores? The rank 6 was not convinced. Rank 8 and rank 9 are free, the other party said indifferently. The quarrel in front attracted many people. 4 rank 5 inner cores were extremely valuable for most rank 5. Similarly, rank 6 inner cores were extremely valuable for rank 6. At the very least, among the rank 6 that Zichen killed, he did not see any rank 6 inner cores. They were all rank 5 inner cores. Here you go. The rank 6 expression was ugly, but he still took out 40 rank 5 inner cores. Seeing this, Luo Yi said, since the mercenaries of God dared to ask for this price, they must have a lot of resources inside. Zichen looked at the God General who was collecting the inner cores and said, the number of inner cores he collected today is probably more than 10,000. I wonder if anyone has any ideas about him. Compared to the risk of entering, this person in front of them was the real opportunity. Luo Yi smiled. Who knew how many mercenaries of God members were around, so they would naturally be on guard against others. Martin had not entered yet. Obviously, they wanted to wait until the end. After all, it was free to enter. Time passed, and there were still people who wanted to try their luck. Rays of light appeared, and those who were eliminated cursed and left dejectedly. Some took out their inner cores and entered again. No matter what everyone gets this time, the mercenaries of God are the biggest winners, Luo Yi said as he looked at the people who entered. Zichen nodded. At this time, The other party had already collected more than 10,000 inner cores. If they were to rely on them to kill, how long would it take? The people around gradually decreased. Zichen, who had been watching this scene silently, said, "Let's go." Luo Yi nodded, and the two of them walked forward. During this time, Zichen was still a little nervous. However, even if Monk and the others were eliminated, it did not matter because they all had resources and could enter. Martin looked at Zichen, who was walking forward with a smile on his face. Zichen came to the teleportation array and took out 8 heavenly beast inner cores. After receiving them, the other party nodded at them. Zichen and Luo Yi walked toward the passage. With a flash of light, the two of them disappeared. Seeing the two of them disappear, the smile on Martin's face froze. Lunky, who was beside him, was also stunned. He found it unbelievable. Chapter 2939. None of the people that entered that space would be stopped. However, the people that were hidden in that space would be directly eliminated. After Zichen landed, he sensed that Monk and the others were still standing in the world. A smile appeared on his face. Luo Yi saw the smile on Zichen's face and said with a smile, "Looks like you succeeded." Zichen nodded. "If we knew this would happen, we would have sold 2 inner cores. We could have made a lot of money." Zichen smiled, but it was a little forced. When he let Monk and the others out, he felt a strange force begin to suppress the world, making it smaller and smaller. "What's wrong?" Luo Yi noticed Zichen's abnormality. Zichen shook his head. He did not know how to explain this kind of thing, so he did not say anything for the time being. The appearance of Monk and the others did not attract the attention of the people around them because there were people coming in every moment. "Let's go straight in." Monk looked at the crowd in the distance and said excitedly. "Let's wait for Martin first," Zichen said. They waited patiently. After about 15 minutes, the people of the mercenaries of God finally appeared. They had a lot of people. With so many people guarding outside, no one dared to cause trouble. Zichen saw Drew in the crowd, and Drew also saw Zichen. He smiled indifferently and led the team away. Martin and Lunky were the last to appear. After they came out, they walked toward them. Martin said, "Zichen, you're really something." Zichen smiled and said, "It's just luck." "Why are there only a few of you? Where are the others?" Martin asked when he found that there were only 5 people in total. "They didn't come. The few of us are enough." "That's true. This place is quite dangerous. Let's go." Zichen asked, "Aren't you going with the team?" Martin shook his head. Although he and Lunky belonged to the army, they were only in charge of the assessment and did not usually follow the army's team. Therefore, they were only acquaintances and were not familiar with each other. In this kind of life and death situation, the team naturally needed some people who were familiar with each other and had a tacit understanding. During this time, Drew invited Martin, but Martin rejected him. The group of 7 headed deeper into the forest. Along the way, they saw many traces of battle and dried bloodstains. "It's been 6 years since we discovered this ruin. Back then, it took us 2 years just to break it open. For the next 4 years, we kept trying to go deeper, but each time, we suffered more losses than the last. Of course, we also gained a lot. Otherwise, we wouldn't have asked for 4 inner cores for each person." Along the way, Martin said, "It is said that when we first discovered this place, there were many sky pythons entrenched outside the ruins. They seemed to have discovered this place and wanted to come in. We suffered great losses in that battle." When Zichen heard this, his eyes lit up and he asked, "The sky python also has the intention to come here?" Martin nodded. "That's what I heard. Back then, Lunky and I were outside and didn't see it with our own eyes." Zichen thought back to the previous time when he had obtained the lightning attribute. At that time, many of the heavenly beasts outside the huge rock had died. Since there were also heavenly beasts here, did that mean that there was also lightning energy here? He became excited. If he really had that kind of power, then this trip would not be in vain. At this moment, there was a cry of surprise in front of him, mixed with panic. The void in front of him suddenly began to distort, and a huge vortex appeared. Colorful lights lingered in the vortex, and 5 sky pythons flew out from it. This was the five-headed sky python at its peak, and its aura was very strong. After it appeared, the five heads opened their mouths and attacked with the five elements. Meteorites, flames, and golden swords continued to wreak havoc, with a shrill sound of breaking the air. Those divine generals who were nearby retreated one after another. In the vortex, more five-headed sky pythons appeared. When they saw the divine generals here, they did not hesitate to attack. A chaotic battle was about to break out. They actually opened a passage. Martin was shocked when he saw this scene. There's more than one passage. Look over there. Zichen's gaze fell on another direction. There was also a vortex there, and other heavenly beasts walked out of it. Then, several more passages appeared, and the heavenly beasts that rushed out of those passages were different. Their aura varied, but the weak ones were at grade 5, and the strong ones were at grade 6, and there were even grade 7. The surroundings were in chaos, and there were constant shouts. Luo Yi looked ahead and said in shock, "This is really a place of opportunity. Yes, opportunity and danger coexist. I wonder how many people will survive in the end." Zichen said as he felt the strong aura around him. At this time, the area had fallen into chaos, and there were battles everywhere. All kinds of attacks were released, and they were wreaking havoc between heaven and earth. Deaths were happening at any time. "Let's do it." Monk rushed forward impatiently. As he rushed forward, a light shield appeared in his hand, forming a defense. Bang! The five-headed sky python's tail hit Monk, and his body immediately flew backward. Then, he rushed forward again, and his defense was intact. Seeing this, Luo Yi's face changed. No wonder the other party wanted to bet with him. It turned out that he had something to rely on. "Monk, lure those heavenly beasts over." Zichen transmitted his voice to Monk. He found that the deeper he went, the greater the pressure he felt. The size of the world was also getting smaller, so he stopped moving forward. There were too many heavenly beasts here, and everyone was fighting. Naturally, no one cared about him. He wasn't sure if the world would be completely suppressed in the end. Fortunately, he used it now. Monk obviously understood what Zichen meant. He relied on his strong defense and rampaged through some heavenly beasts. After angering them, he quickly returned. More than a dozen heavenly beasts chased after Monk. All kinds of attacks fell from the sky, forming an indiscriminate attack. Monk raised his defense and moved forward in the sky full of attacks. Meteorites and sword rain fell on his body, causing ripples on his defense. Swoosh! A sharp whistling sound was heard, and a sky python's tail came quickly and hit Monk. With a loud tremor, Monk flew into the distance, getting further and further away from Zichen. Damn it! Monk stabilized his body and looked at the sky pythons coming at him. He cursed, and Buddha light surrounded his body. Releasing a strong aura, he held the light shield tightly and rushed forward. A Buddha shadow appeared behind him, causing him to rush forward even faster. He was like a meteorite streaking across the sky, and a shrill whistling sound was heard. Boom! Another sky python's attack fell on him. His body only trembled, and his speed wasn't affected much. However, the figure shrouded in Buddhist light behind him had dimmed a little. Zichen didn't go forward, and he just watched from afar. Luo Yi and the rest were shocked by Monk's strong defense. Boom! Boom! More attacks fell on Monk, and the rumbling sound between heaven and earth attracted many people's attention. Seeing Monk's strong defense, everyone was stunned. When the light shadow behind him completely shattered, Monk finally got close to Zichen. Behind him, the sky pythons were also flying fast. Buzz! At this moment, the void vibrated, and a black hole appeared out of thin air, shrouding downward. In the next moment, the sky pythons disappeared. For the latest novel updates, please visit the website.